Is it better to have had a good thing and lost it, or never to have had it?
The truth is, we're all achingly lonely, and we're endlessly searching for ways to fill that void.
There's a word in Korean, inyeon. It means fate.
It's an interesting phrase, go boldly. What is there to boldly go into?
What is stronger? Your fear or your love for me?
I don't know what it is you gotta do, but I think that this thing is supposed to help.
Just have fun out there.
The only one who gets to decide if I'm through is me.
She said it gave her hope.
The story of me, take two. And of course, the music will be spectacular.
Run fast for your mother, run fast for your father.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is Monday, January 8th, 2023, and you are listening to the Midnight Film Society's 2023 year-end extravaganza. I'm your host, and a recluse with a juicy caboose, Damian Sherman. Joining me today, as always, is
Derick McDuff.
On today's show, the only thing Derick and I will be doing is counting down our top 10 films of the year of our Lord 2023. Derick, how do you feel, bud? The year is ending. The year's ended finally.
All right, we rang in the new year. 2020 part 5 is starting up. Happy New Year. So yeah, it's the last few years have maybe been rough on the world and everything, but let's see if this one's any better. Let's reset the table, try again. It's like my brother every week when it comes to betting football. It never seems to pay off, but maybe one of these days he's gonna those 18 parlays that he puts down will pay off.
Yeah, I mean,
and that'll be this year for us.
That'll be this year. Yeah, it is in an election year, so that's not great. Yeah, I've heard a bunch of people get a bunch of the podcasts I listen to get ahead of the game always. So I've heard like 3 or 4, most anticipated movies of this year already. Some of the stuff that I've been looking forward to, some of the stuff I didn't even know about, some of the stuff I'm not really looking forward to. But yeah, this is how we do it. We do the thing where, a lot of the movies are just coming out in America, just getting to VOD, like Saltburn, that thing with the weird little guy in it. So yeah, we looking back on the year right now for us. So how was 2023 for you in terms of movies? Was it better? I guess we can sort of compare it to, like you said, to the COVID years. COVID is still ravaging the country as we speak. But just comparing it to the start of it, 2020, 2021, and 2022, how do you think this year's fares in terms of movies compared to those years?
In terms of films that have come out this year, I think it was actually a pretty spectacular year.
Yeah.
I thought 2022 was a good year in movies, and I think this one far surpassed it. And I think a big part of the reason was that 2020 and 2021, because of COVID and all the stuff that was happening with movie theater closures and movies not being in production for a while, movies were pretty rough for a couple years. But that meant that the next couple years we got a lot of good things, including we got a lot of films this year from a lot of quote-unquote auteur directors, a lot of masters directing their movies. You had Scorsese, Michael Mann, Hayao Miyazaki, Alexander Payne, Sofia Coppola. The list goes on. Just like all these huge names. We also had some conclusions to some long-running series that were pretty great. Stuff that might show up on one or both of our lists, possibly. These franchise, like, it was kind of a rough year for franchises, but I think there was actually some really good franchise stuff mixed in there as well, and then some emerging writers and directors doing their first films had a really strong showing as well. So overall, I had trouble narrowing it down to 10 movies because there was just so much good stuff that came out this year.
Yeah, I would mostly agree. Just to talk specifics, like you said, our tour directors had a very good year. Mr. Finchman, the Finchman came back.
The Finchman, yes.
Came back this year. The Greta Gerwig Barbie Heimer thing was huge. 4 theaters. They both, one or both of them could have been not great. They were both spectacular. They both made a shit ton of money. Great year for animation. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Just going through the list. Elemental, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was very good. Just trying to go through my list. I know there's many more animated stuff. Some people mentioned, not great year for genres, specifically horror. You had Talk to Me. You had When Evil Lurks. Infinity Pool was very good, but I do have to agree with what a lot of people said. Scream 6 was okay. Threegan was okay. You didn't really enjoy that.
Threegan,
yeah,
I did not enjoy.
So yeah, I would say overall I agree with you. Just specifically though about genre films and horror specifically, not a great year. 2023, not a great year for horror, unfortunately.
I don't know if I agree with that.
No.
I'm not a big horror guy, but your list is locked in. Your guesses for locked in for me, right?
Yes, sir.
Because I have a horror film on my list, and I'm not a huge horror guy, so
yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we should do a little bit of table setting. This is the first year. So first of all, first year end extravaganza for the Midnight Film Society as a brand. First year we're doing just films. I know there's another first for this show. First with just the two of us, Andy and Dion, or our normal people. I won't say normies. I won't denigrate them that way. They are normal folks with families and jobs, and so they're going to take the year off, maybe come back stronger next year. But we will be hearing from them later on. My mom too. We got her to do the recording. I saw
Mama Sherman.
Mama Sherman, yes. I saw a bunch of movies with her, and I had her record a little thing to talk about her favorite movie of the year. So yeah, just in terms of what we'll be doing here today specifically, I think maybe halfway throughout the year, I said, hey, here's a fun thing we can do. Rank what we think each other's top 10 is going to be. So I have my prediction for you locked in. When I say my top 10, when I start the top 10 list, I will go to you, I'll throw it to you, and you will guess what you think my number 10 movie of 2023 is, and I will guess yours back to you, and we'll go vice versa that way. The other thing to note about the structure of this show is we're going to be doing the thing that a lot of people do, which is, let's say Indiana Jones is your number 10, and it's higher on my list. I'll say, no. We will speak about that film much later. So I think that pretty much does it for the table setting for today's show. Anything that I missed, Derick?
Well, yeah, nothing you missed, but I just wanted to add one thing to that. Yeah, this is, you said this first year that we're doing this as like the Midnight Film Society with the new format and stuff. And yeah, this is also, the first year that I'm doing my full, because we've done top 10s in the past, but this is the first time I'm doing my full top 10 movie list here. Back when I was part of Undercast Company, we had our separate Patreon where we do that, but now doing it for free. It's showing up in my feed as well over on Underrated Movie Podcast. I'm going to be posting this there, so if people are hearing that there, that's why. So excited to be able to do this not behind a paywall and in front of all the people and God and everyone else.
Exactly. Yeah, if you do something for Patreon, the Lord can't see it. That's how that works.
That's true. Jesus can't see behind that paywall unless he signs up. Unless I get Jesus's $1.
Exactly. Couple questions before we get to the top 10. How long were you moving your picks around until just now? I was moving my picks around until a couple hours ago. A couple things here and there, not in the top 3, not in the top 5, but lower down the list. How long did it take you to finally say, okay, this is my list, this is what I'm presenting to Damien?
To right now, before I rearranged some stuff this morning, or this afternoon, I guess, a couple hours back. I actually just finished watching one of the movies that we had talked about, something you had told me to watch. So I just watched that one. No word on whether or not that will pop up on my list.
Yeah.
It may or may not, but yeah, I literally like 5 minutes before we jumped on finished watching the last movie that I had to consider for 2023. So whether or not that one played in will be revealed momentarily.
Nice. And then, the question we always ask when we do lists every year, even, top 5 halfway into the year or anything like that, there are the chalk picks. There are the ones that are going to go on to the Oscars, to the Golden Globes. They're going to be nominated. They're the big ones: Oppenheimer, Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon. How many of those do you look at and go, they'll be talked about? Those will be talked about. I don't need to put those on my list. I have other things that I personally feel deserve to be ranked higher. How did you sort of go about crafting your list in terms of thinking about that sort of stuff?
I didn't consider it one way or the other.
Okay.
I honestly was just like, what are my top movies? Whether or not they're ones that are going to get talked about by other people. These are my favorite movies, and I don't want my list to be influenced by other people's lists because I'm like, well, I've got to include Killers of the Flower Moon because it's got to be on everyone's list. It's such an important movie. I might have put it on my list because I liked it, but I'm not going to leave it off either because I think too many people have talked about it. But I'm also not going to be feel pressure to leave it on. I'm just going to put on the movies that I think are the best. And we do, we have some categories here, and we do have a category for most overlooked movie that I'm glad that we have because there was one I was thinking about putting on my top 10 just because it was no one is talking about this, but we do have an opportunity to talk about it there and in my honorable mentions too. Yeah,
I'm just looking at the list of stuff that I have on mine. It's a good mix of things that will be nominated for Best Picture, Best Actress, all of that stuff. Let me just take a quick gander here. Let's see. It's a lot of the of course, yes, that. How many movies that are on your list did you see, let's say, in the past month, 2 weeks, and did you sort of go into those movies going, all right, I'll check them out because they're big stars, big movies that are expected to be nominated, expect to have a lot of acclaim attached to them. When you left those movies, you left the theater, did you go, no, let me go the other way. When you went into those movies, did you anticipate they would be on your list? The Iron Claws, let's say, something like that?
Well, yeah, I did. There was a lot. I did watch a lot of stuff the past month that I was like, okay, I need to watch this because I need to consider it for my list. But not really a lot of stuff from that. I was like, is this going to crack the top 10? Not really that much stuff broke through. I think I already had a really solid top 10 going into this, so there wasn't a lot. Not that there weren't great things, because there were great things, but then, when I saw some of these, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to kick out,
Yes. And then last question, before we get to the top 10 films of 2023, what was your biggest disappointment? Anything you went into that you were expecting to love a lot, and you came out and you said, actually, I'm not that hot on it, for whatever reason?
The one that I really wanted to like was actually one I had watched in anticipation of this list. Really think it would make my top 10.
Yep.
And that is a Danish film called Godland, which I had seen crop up on a few people's top 10 lists. It's it's shot like an old timey grainy water photo. And it was like this. It's supposed to be like this intimate portrait of a priest making his way through nature and just how unforgiving it is, and just kind of proves how meaningless his quest to kind of tame nature in the face of God is. And I was like, I am so on board for this. And the movie, it had all that. It was some good, interesting visuals, but the characters were pretty flat and uninteresting. The plot was pretty one note and predictable, so it let me down quite a bit. It did feel kind of like a crossover of and I wrote this in my Letterboxd review, a crossover of Silence and First Cow.
Oh, wow.
But without being as deep or memorable as either of those films, which is a shame because I really wanted to like this movie, and and I didn't hate it, but it just didn't move me.
All right, that's unfortunate. So,
So
yes,
question
yes.
real fast. Then are we doing the categories before the top 10 or after?
Yeah, we can do them now if you want. Yeah, I crafted a list. I didn't really contribute much to it because I forgot about it honestly at the last minute. But yeah, let's go through some of the categories. First up is best musical moment. I have written down "I'm Just Ken." We can go back and forth with this. I have written down, "I'm Just Ken" from the Barbie movie. A lot of that movie, it's funny because they're marketing a lot of these movies, right? That are musicals as not musicals. Would you call Barbie a hidden musical, a secret musical movie?
No, I mean there's a couple songs, but I don't think it's a full-on musical.
Okay.
There's musical moments.
Yeah.
I mean, this was my moment too.
Yes.
Like this song is absolutely incredible. There's like one or two songs in it. So I wouldn't really classify this as a musical like something that is a real hidden musical like Mean Girls or like that one with Peter Dinklage, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Those are hidden musicals. Yeah.
Yeah, that was very good. So yeah, Beastie Boys, the Guardian of the Galaxy hallway fight scene, great musical moment. No Hard Feelings, the Man Eater saying. I don't know if you caught up with No Hard Feelings.
That's the one I watched right before this. I literally finished that 5 minutes before recording. Yeah.
Gotcha.
That was good. That was a good moment.
That was a very good moment. And then, of course, All of the Killer with the Smiths soundtrack playing over that almost entire movie. And then, of course, the Murder on the Dance Floor scene with Mr. Barry Keoghan showing his Keoghan flopping all over the place at the end of that movie. Yeah, so that was very good. Anything I didn't mention you want to mention real quick?
No, I think you hit all the big ones. Yeah, I'm Just Ken is the clear winner. The only one that's, I think, close is the Guardians one. Yes.
Best monologue. Some ones from this year I really enjoyed were from The Holdovers. I think near the end when Paul Giamatti and forget the actor's name in that, but they have a really, really nice heart-to-heart there. Really enjoyed that scene. There's the monologue in Barbie that everyone's talking about. Very, feministry. Talked about there. And then the scene that I looked up for this list, the Matt Damon speech in Air when he's talking about, it's one of those scenes where you see it a lot in movies where the person's given a script to say and they just like throw away the script and then just talk from the heart. But it was very, it's a common trope in a lot of movies, but it was very, very well done in there. Anything you have to add to this list?
The one that I had with best monologue was Rachel McAdams in
Yes.
Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Yeah.
She gives that speech that is just so sad and poignant, and it's really heartbreaking but really hopeful at the same time. And I think that it's a movie that should win her an Oscar, and if not, at least get her a nomination. I don't know if it will because that movie felt like it came out way too early in the year. But that's I think the best performance of her career and one of the best monologues I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, I highly agree with that. Let's move on to scene of the year, just the general scenes that we'll be thinking about when I think about movies from this year. The final scene in Past Lives, I did just rewatch this last night and blubbered like a little baby again after watching it. Just incredible. Then my only other pick here is the dance scene in Poor Things. I'm not sure if you caught up with Poor Things at this point.
I did catch up with Poor Things a little while ago. All I could think of when that scene happened was like somebody needs to do a remix of this. Like just take that scene and put Mr. Brightside on, and just be like, "This is white people at the club."
Yeah, I'll be talking more about that movie later. But yeah, just one of the most unhinged, unique, unbridled, just people throwing their bodies in all sorts of directions. It was incredible. Anything to add to that category?
I think the one shot from Extraction is pretty incredible. The prison break scene that becomes the train high. I think you could call that a scene, even though it's like 16 minutes long, because it's all one shot. Which is that scene alone almost like made me put this movie on my top 10 list. Didn't quite make the cut. Spoiler alert. Yeah. But that scene was pretty phenomenal.
Yes. So let's just
or the end. I also sorry,
yes.
one more. The end of Asteroid City when he's talking to Margot Robbie. That's also
yes. I
one I had to mention.
Spoilers, I don't have Asteroid City in my top 10, but I've seen a lot of people mention it. And one of my favorite movie-going experiences this year probably will be, if we do top 5 Wes Andersons in the future, it'll probably be very high up in that list. Yeah, I really enjoyed that movie very much overall, and that scene in particular. Let's talk about some best male performances. Just going to go by list here. I think the male performances are going to be a common denominator in my overall list for the movies this year. Zac Efron in The Iron Claw, Michael Fassbender in The Killer, what's his name, Mr. Bradley Cooper in Maestro. Let's see, Paul Giamatti.
Ah, yes, Maestro. Yeah, Maestro.
Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers, and of course, Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer. Just a lot of dudes going for it this year is the trend I see in a lot of these movies. How about you?
Yeah, I would also add Glenn Howerton in Blackberry.
Yes.
Keanu Reeves in John Wick 4.
Yep.
Andrew Scott in All of Us Strangers.
Yes.
And then, but I think that the one, and then did I mention Harrison Ford in Dial of Destiny? Because
Nope.
I think, he's fucking Indiana Jones. That's I think he's great playing that character just over the years, like just wizened and older, and just seeing how he's changed. But I think the one of the year for lead male performance, I put it a separate category for supporting, but lead is Joaquin Phoenix in Beau is Afraid. I thought was absolutely phenomenal.
The most performance, I'll give him that in that movie. Yeah. Let's see. So, best female performance. I have written down Carey Mulligan for Maestro, Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall. Just looking through the list here. Margot Robbie in Barbie. Obviously, have to mention her. Some folks in How to Blow Up a Pipeline. Let me just see. Ariela Barrer, Christine Forsyth. Sasha Lane, very good in that. Let's see. I know there's some, I'm not sure how to pronounce their names, but a lot of the actresses in Godzilla -1, Minami Hamabe and Kurensaki Sasaki. And Yuki Yamada, I believe, is the woman that played the love interest in that movie. So very good actresses in that. And Emma Stone is the actress of the year. I mean,
that's my pick too. She's number one with a bullet.
Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, late breaking entry, having just watched it, but I think Jennifer Lawrence in No Hard Feelings is really great.
Yeah.
In that role, I would also say Iman Vellani in The Marvels, Kaylee Spaney in Priscilla. Did you say Lily Gladstone,
Nope.
Killers of the Flower Moon?
Did not.
Okay, I think she has to be mentioned. Incredible, phenomenal performance in that movie. Quiet and powerful. And then I would say Greta Lee in Past Lives as well.
Greta Lee, yes, absolutely. Greta Lee and Lily Gladstone doing very similar things with their performances. Very still, very quiet, but very, very, very powerful. Scariest moment. Talk to Me. Is the Talk to Me could be maybe somewhere on the top.
Talk to Me, yeah.
Yeah, could be somewhere on the list. I have that on here as the possession scene. One of the most unique perspectives on a possession. Obviously, it's 2023, so anything like that's going to go viral. So it's all the kids sitting around filming it and their reactions and sort of the performance of the people being possessed. Really, really, really well done. I haven't really seen anybody do a performance that is that convincing, I guess would be the word there for that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. Talk to Me. And then before we move on completely from actors, I did want to throw in my those were my leads. I also had separate picks for supporting. I think, like I said, for female supporting, I think, Rosamund Pike in Saltburn was really great. Tilda Swinton had a small role in The Killer, but absolutely incredible. And then Vanessa Kirby, also in Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. She's great as Vanessa Kirby, and then also as Vanessa Kirby as Haley Atwell. Like, that is phenomenal. She's so good at that. But the two I have tied for the winner there are the aforementioned Rachel McAdams and then Jessie Buckley in Woman Talking, which I thought they were both great. And then for male supporting, one that I'll bring up later in Overlooked, but I think Two from Oppenheimer, RDJ, and Matt Damon. I think Dave Bautista is another one that I could probably mention as an overlooked one for Knack at the Cabin, but it's got to go to Gosling. Gosling and Barbie. We already talked about him just Ken, but he gives such a phenomenal, just great performance in that movie. He's arguably the best part of that whole movie.
Yes, indeed. Just looking through my list, trying to see if I had anything else to mention in terms of that. I mean, Infinity Pool has some very terrifying scenes. When Evil Lurks, very, very unsettling moments there. Saw X obviously had just gross out moments more than scary. Evil Dead Rise, yeah, some good scary stuff from this year. But I would have to say one of the weakest years in terms of horror stuff in a while, unfortunately. So let's go on to Best Animated Moment. Let me go through some of my picks that are on my list. Well, not my picks, but just the stuff that's outside of the top 10 about that. Elemental, very, very good. I loved a lot of those moments between the fire, when the fire characters being the water character. Let me see if I can pull up the people. What were they called, actually? Ember and Wade. When they meet, when Ember meets Wade's family, was a very good scene in there. Let's see. TMNT had a lot of great scenes, but I really loved Nimona. Thinking more back on it, it could have made a spot in my top 10. So many great moments in that. So many great performances by Miss Chloe Grace Moretz. I didn't even know it was her throughout the movie. I had looked it up later and was like, wow, that's a really great performance when you don't know who's actually doing the acting there. Let's see what else. Obviously, Across the Spider-Verse, just all of that. every moment of that movie was great. What do you got for this category, sir?
So, yeah, I just have one moment for me. This was just and I liked the movie, but it wasn't one that I was going to put on my top 10 list. But the moment that was just so powerful to me was just the ending of The Venture Brothers, a TV show that I had watched since I was 14 or so. The first season, I think, came out in 2003, maybe. So it's something that I grew up with. I watched it through the end of high school, through college, through my 20s and 30s. Even my late teens is when I started. And, it's one of those shows where they would release a season every 2 to 5 years. And they, it ended on this movie. A theatrically, or I guess it wasn't theatrically released, but a movie made that was released first to download and then eventually on HBO Max. And just getting to see the conclusion of this long story with this deep, intricate mythology that, where a joke from season 1 would become a huge, important, emotional moment in this film or something like that, was really great. And just to see the end of these characters that I have loved so deeply for so long. And the name of the film, which is great, is The Venture Brothers Raiding of the Blood of the Baboon Heart. Really great. If you haven't seen The Venture Brothers, this movie will make no sense to you. You need to have watched all of The Venture Brothers. And I did catch up on the last couple seasons, which I had missed. The last one, which came out, I think they came out a little bit before the pandemic. So yeah, this was really cool and really meaningful to me. The end of this long-running series done in a movie form. Nice,
very cool. Let's see. So that's animated stuff. Best screenplay. I was looking through my list here. The stuff that I find really fascinating and really impactful on screenplays is when it doesn't feel like it's written. It feels like you have overlapping dialogue, or it just seems off the cuff. I saw 1001 just recently, which was on a lot of people's top 10 lists, and that had a very very impactful and very raw screenplay. Let's see, Asteroid City, always great. I always love Mr. Anderson's dialogue there, and his screenplays are always great. Let me see. Bottoms, comedies always got to have a really good screenplay. Bottoms had a great screenplay. And then what else? Riding in the Sun, very interesting screenplay there. Let's see.
That's one word for it. I don't think there was a screenplay. I think they just made shit up.
Just made shit up. Yeah. There was something
it's
here.
Called mumblecore.
There was something I wanted to... Oh, Skinamarink, yeah, great screenplay. That's very...
Screenplay? No one even says anything in that movie. Nothing even happens.
That was a...
The screenplay is a wall. They just write, look at a wall for 30 minutes.
There was one I wanted to mention it because I was like, oh yeah, that was really, really well done. I mean, things like Theater Camp, where it's just like, somebody's mumbling some line under their breath as they walk away. There's very, very funny screenplay there. What do you got to mention for screenplay here?
For screenplay, I have let's see, I've got Poor Things. I think that's a great screenplay by Tony McNamara. People talk about Poor Things like it's something that just sprouted from the mind whole cloth of Yorgos Lanthimos, but Tony McNamara is an incredible writer, and I think the Yorgos Lanthimos movies that are the best are the ones that McNamara writes. This and The Favorite, and then because they're the least bleak and the most interesting. I would also say that let's see, what else do I have here? Past Lives, great screenplay on that one. The Boy and the Heron, which has a kind of a less traditional screenplay. It was mostly storyboarded. Blackberry, and then the one that I gave best screenplay to is the same one that won the Oscar for best screenplay last year that I was really pulling for, and that is Woman Talking, written by Sarah Polley. I think that is a phenomenal screenplay, one of the best in a very long time.
Yeah, highly agree. Highly agree. Just talking about smaller movies saw this year. You Hurt My Feelings by Nicole Hofstetter. Seeing if she wrote that. Yeah, she wrote that as well. Yep. So great direction, great screenplay. Speaking of best directing, that'll be your next category. Like you said, Extraction 2, you mentioned that is a great scene. You have to be amazing director, amazing sort of coordinator to pull that stuff off. So definitely got to give him his props there for that. Obviously Wes Anderson with Asteroid City. It's that style. He does this style again. But just to coordinate all of that is very impressive. Let me see. Obviously you have, you talked about, it's a team effort. Our tour directors, get too much credit, but James Gunn, obviously, for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, his style obviously came through there again. Save the MCU. I know you hate when people say that, but it pretty much did there. Let's see what else. John Wick, for the same reason that I praised the director of Extraction, Sam Hargrave. Have to praise the director of John Wick, Chad Stahelski, for the same reasons. And I believe that's about it. I mean, David Lowery did great stuff with Peter Pan and Wendy. Always great to see him there. And then, of course, just again going the weird route. Brandon Cronenberg, again bringing his very specific brand of weirdness to that movie. Really, really appreciated that. So, what do you have some directors you want to highlight here?
Yeah, so the directors that I wanted to highlight were first-time director Celine Song for Past Lives, was written and directed. Matt Johnson, who directed Blackberry. He also has a starring role, or at least supporting role, in that movie. As does he has a cameo in his film Martin Scorsese in Killers of the Flower Moon. Yeah, and then Hayao Miyazaki. And likely what will be his last film, The Boy and the Heron. Yeah, did
want to mention, the like you said, Scorsese, Mr. Christopher Nolan.
That's the thing I was going to say. That's my winner, though. Chris Nolan for Oppenheimer. That's my winner. Those are all the also rans Nolan and Oppenheimer. Yeah, incredible, incredible direction. Of course.
And then editing. I think Sean Durkin, the stuff he did in Iron Claw, got to be mentioned because the and with that, and also Past Lives, Celine Song, obviously she had an editor for that, but the confidence to let a scene play out, let your actors act, and don't allow them to hide behind editing or post-production stuff, I think is really impressive. So that's some great editing there. Let me see, looking through the list. Like I said, the theater camp stuff of like the spontaneous, to make something seem spontaneous in the writing and editing and direction, very impressive. Asteroid City, got to give that up for editing. And then again, the action stuff, very, very hard to edit. Action scenes to make it seem visceral, to seem tactile, to make it feel real. Very, 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 very tough to do that. So yeah, those are my picks for editing. What you got over there?
Yeah, I mean, editing's always weird because it's like one of those things. It's like if you notice the editing, it's not doing a good job.
Exactly.
But, I have some on here that are ones that I think utilize really smart editing really well. In The Killer, I think that's one of the best things about that movie is just how sleek and well edited it is, and that's going to be something that's always going to happen with David Fincher films. Same thing with Asteroid City. That's a really well done, quirkily animated, film. Magic Mike's Last Dance, amazing choreography and editing in that movie. Steven Soderbergh is a mad genius who just like him and Fincher. They're like two opposite sides of a coin when it comes to just editing masterpieces and just the incredible eye they have. But then I think that my favorite ones are two action ones. John Wick Chapter 4, and then the one that takes it for me is the aforementioned Extraction 2. Not just because of that one scene that seamlessly makes it look like it was edited into one long take when it wasn't, but the whole movie is just such good action editing.
Yes, exactly. A couple more here. Best score. I was looking through the list, and it's just it's the big ones. It's the Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Holdovers. I was re-listening to the Past Lives soundtrack, and the score of that is just incredible. I'll give you a little bit of a tease for my notes for that, but it is. Let me see here. The score. By Christopher Bear and Daniel Ronson. Reminds me of Lost in Translation. Very Brian Eno infused, and it's very reminiscent of things like the Eternal Sunshine score, which is referenced in that movie, and also of the Good Will Hunting score with the Elliott Smith soundtrack being on there. So, yeah, just everything. I was trying to highlight something outside of the big ones, but didn't really, Fair Play, not really. Tetris is on here. You Hurt My Feelings. I'm not really seeing anything else that that had a good score. So maybe you can mention something.
You didn't even mention my favorite.
How Do You Live? I'm guessing, right? No.
No. I mean, How Do You Live? Oh yeah. Boy and the Heron. I was like, what? That's what it used to be called.
Oh yes.
But yeah,
yes.
Joe Hisashi. I was like thrown for a second, but yeah, Joe Hisashi. Just.
Yes.
Always, he's the GOAT, I think that everything he has ever done is incredible, and this is one of his best scores ever. I'm moved to tears by it. It's really incredible. And then one other that I just want to mention too is Hans Zimmer in The Creator. Hans Zimmer is another one of the GOATs. So I at least have to mention his score there.
Yes, absolutely. Then one more category before we get to our top 10 list. Most overlooked. I have quite a few on here, actually. Rye Lane was a film from earlier this year, directed by Rain Allen Miller, stars David Johnson and Vivian Opera. The synopsis is two 20-somethings, both reeling from bad breakups, connect over the course of an eventful day in South London, helping each other deal with their nightmare exes and potentially restoring their faith in romance. So I'd highly recommend checking that one out. Let's see. Showing Up, the Kelly Reichardt film, was very, very good from this year. A movie from director Jewel Taylor called They Cloned Tyrone with John Boyega, Tayana Paris, and Jamie Foxx was a very interesting sort of sci-fi take on with a sci-fi take on systemic racism and exploitation and things like that. That was very good.
I can see why it was overlooked because it came out on digital the same day of Barbenheimer. So
yeah, that'll do it, right? That will fucking do it.
Yeah, that'll do it.
A couple other things I didn't really mention this year, but will be on my honorable mention list. Let's see. I mean, I mentioned When Evil Lurks a lot. I'm trying to find something I didn't even mention yet, but I have mentioned pretty much everything. 1001 is on a lot of lists. So I wouldn't say that's overlooked or underrated. Throw some out from you, and I'll try to get back to you on that one.
Yeah, I would say this is one that I think is gonna maybe show up. We'll talk about a little more in depth later. But How to Boil a Pipeline.
Yeah.
I mentioned the score from it, but I think The Creator was one. It's a big budget, or at least mid-budget, really good-looking science fiction film from a guy with a real vision that kind of just disappeared into nothingness that I think was really good. And then those are movies. I have one. I'll wait to give my number one pick in that though. But performance-wise, I think Jude Law in Peter Pan and Wendy, he's incredible in that movie, giving a performance of Captain Hook that is so deep and interesting, and it makes you want to go like, fuck off, Dustin Hoffman. It's so good.
Dustin Hoffman catching random strays. He just woke up out of a cold sweat. It's like, what was that?
I felt the disturbance in the voice.
It's always weird, like we were talking earlier about having stuff on our list that's been talked about or that's going to get awards. I have something like Passages, which is getting a lot of talk. Similarly, with something like All of Us Strangers, I saw Passages this week just to catch up on it, see if it would make my top 10. So yeah, I guess that in a way that's overlooked, not in the circles of highfalutin film critics, but definitely from the public at large, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I have one that it was overlooked by film critics, by audiences, by pretty much everyone. A lot of people didn't even know this movie exists, and that is Fingernails, which was kind of just unceremoniously dropped on Apple Plus out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But I saw this movie. It stars, and two overlooked performances in it. Stars Riz Ahmed, Jesse Buckley, and Jeremy Allen White, and I think it's spectacular. One of the best movies of the year. Like I said, I almost put it on my top 10 list. Didn't quite make the cut, but it's almost like Yorgos Lanthimos light. Like, I know it's one of his guys, but it's just set in one of those kind of like sci-fi futures that's like 5 minutes in the future, like Inception, where there's like one thing in the world that's a little bit different. And yeah, I it's got like a 3.0 on Letterboxd. It's only got a couple checks of people that I follow on there, and all the film critics that I like and respect, who I usually agree with their opinions, have given it pretty poor scores. It doesn't have a very good Rotten Tomatoes score. So I think this one has been really slept on by everyone across the board, but I loved it.
Nice. Yeah, I will probably check that out sometime. In the month or so. Yeah, I know. Because it was one of those that they mentioned on the film cast. I think Devendra maybe saw and was just like, yeah, it's okay. It gave me the feeling of like a Black Mirror episode of something like that.
Yeah, it's like a Black Mirror. It's like a good Black Mirror episode. It's like San Junipero or something like that, where you're like, oh, there's a cool weird technology twist, but it's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot less. But it's also it is like a San Junipero, because it's like one that isn't sad. It's like the USS Callister, where it's just like, oh cool, this is like a more uplifting Black Mirror episode. It's not as like depressing as a lot of those episodes,
Yeah. All right. So with that, why don't we actually take a break? We're going for a while already.
Okay.
Let's take a break before we get to our top 10 list of 2023. We'll see you then. And we're back, talking top 10 films of 2023, and I will kick us off. Like I said, Derick, guess my number 10 movie of 2023, please.
All right, my guess for your number 10 is David Fincher's The Killer.
Incorrect. Very, very close, though. Very close. My number 10 of 2023 is a movie that I referenced before as being a movie that I just recently saw within the past 2 weeks with Dion, actually on, is that on Monday? Yeah, it was on Monday. My number 10 of 2023 is The Iron Claw.
Morning. Pants tomorrow, please, David.
Terry, I want you to join your brothers in the ring.
Yes, sir. I love that.
Woo! Now, we all know Carrie's my favorite, then Kev, then David, then Mike. But the rankings can always change.
What do you want in life, Kevin Von Erich?
More ribs?
I want to be with my family. Be with my brothers.
What do you like to do with your brothers?
I almost put that at number 9. I like went back and forth.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see how I do with the rest of it.
So yeah, The Iron Claw. I love Sean Durkin's movies. The Nest was my number 2 movie of 2020, right behind Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. I think he has a very interesting style. Something that we saw like with the Holdovers, he has this like tone and this texture that's very 70s. This movie take place in the 70s, so it's right at home there. Like I said before, with the editing, I think it takes a lot of confidence. It takes a lot of trust in your DP and your actors and your editor to let the camera just sit there. There's a lot of scenes in here where the camera just sits back and very slowly zooms in on the room they're in. There's many scenes in this movie where guys are just in rooms and they're hurt and they're being yelled at and they're just depressed and not in a good way. And I think these are some of the best performances I've seen from Zac Efron, Jeremy Allen White, Harris Dickinson, all of these people. Maura Tierney plays the mother in this. She's very, very good in this. Holt McNally, Mr. Fincher's guy, way back in the day, starting in Alien 3, is fantastic in this as Fritz von Erich, the matriarch of the von Erich family. Lily James is also very good in this, playing Pam, the wife of Zac Efron's character, Kevin von Erich. Yeah, just really, really knocked me over. I knew I was gonna like this, but I didn't. Again, speaking about movies that we didn't know going into them would crack our top 10, but this one did at number 10.
Yeah, no, this is a phenomenal film. It's a movie that after you watch it, you're like, I need to call my brothers and tell them that I love them. It really hit me pretty hard. Growing up with two younger brothers. This is a great sports film. I think it avoids a lot of the problems that I have with a lot of biopics. Just tragic, but also has an ending that manages to be pretty uplifting, despite how many horrible things have happened to this family and then happened in real life. I was really impressed by this. Really incredible performances by everyone in this. Zac Efron, Jeremy Allen White, and one of two movies where the end of the film has someone choking their parent about to kill them, and they at the last moment don't. Which is, if I had a nickel for every time that happened, I'd have 2 nickels, which is not a lot, but it's weird it's happened twice.
What was the other movie? I forget.
The other one is, spoiler alert, Beau is Afraid. That's because he ends up almost choking his mom at the end of that movie, which, both of, nominees for worst parents of all time is the mom in Beau is Afraid and the dad in The Iron Claw. Absolute piece of shit. I love the opening, by the way, too, where it's the black and white and you just see the dad back when he was wrestling and it's just this grainy black and white footage and he's just stomping the shit out of somebody, and it foreshadows just how his rage and anger and just shittiness is going to destroy this family. Yes.
Is this in your top 10?
This was not. This is it. It's just spoiler. This was an honorable mention for me. But it's when I went into being like, is this going to crack the top 10? And it didn't quite. Like I said, this is just a good movie year. In another year, it might have cracked it, but not in 2023.
All right. So you're going to present your number 10, and I have to guess. Yes. Looking at this right now, it's probably too low, but I'm going to say, I have to be honest, my guess is Indiana Jones 5.
That is incorrect. My number 10 is Talk to Me.
Light the candle to open the door. Blow it out to close it. Put your hand on it. Now say, talk to me.
Talk to me.
This is the horror film that I mentioned. It's from the Philippus brothers, who were YouTubers and had great success online and making spooky things, and broke out into a, I was gonna say big budget, but it's still pretty very small budget. It's a very indie film, horror movie, and they managed to do so much with so little. That's my favorite kind of horror film, is ones where it's all about what you don't see. Yeah. And this movie is so smart in that it shows you one scene of what you see when you grab this spooky hand, and then the rest of it is all just, you don't see the characters looking at it. I think it's a great film, a great metaphor. Sorry, I should have stopped. Is this anywhere higher up on your list? Do I need to stop?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great metaphor for dealing with depression, and the ways that you lean on substances because of that, and the harmful effects that will have on you and the ones you love, and just the cycle that creates. And also, it's a movie with just a shitty protagonist. A shitty protagonist who you can relate to, but you also just really want to see fail. And that's my favorite kind of horror movie protagonist, is just when they suck and then they lose at the end. Like, they just get what they deserve at the end. And so that's what Talk to Me did. It's also Australian, which is cool. It's fun that it's like some Australian horror movie. They do a lot of clever things where people, there's that classic scene at the beginning that doesn't seem like it's connected to anything to just set things up, but they actually bring it back in later. It's a really creative MacGuffin in this movie. So this is why I went back and forth on putting my lips, but I had to put it on. Had to have a horror movie, had to have a indie movie, and I just really liked it a lot.
Nice, very cool. Yeah, I would have to say, I'm still sticking with my guns. Still going to say it's not a great year for horror, but yeah, this is probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite horror movie of the year of 2023. Yep. Let's see. So coming back to me, my number 9. Derick, what do you think my number 9 is?
My prediction for your number 9 is Barbie.
Incorrect. You were correct last time, having The Killer at number 10. But
so I get a couple points from that.
You do.
For being one off. Okay.
Yeah. So my number 9 is The Killer.
Stick to your plan. Trust no one. Stick to the plan. Forbid empathy. Stick to the plan. Anticipate. Don't improvise. Stick to your plan. Never yield an advantage. Stick to the plan.
The Finch Man coming back to what he does best: stylish dudes, emotionless husk of dudes that are emotionless husks doing violence to other people. I'm trying to think back to his other movies and see if there was musical drops, but I don't think so. Right? I think the trailer for the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo had the Karen O doing the cover of Immigrant Song, but that was just in the trailer. I think a lot of
it has like that opening with like it's like almost a James Bond opening, which is ironic because it's Daniel Craig, but they have like the oil covered people and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but that's just like, it's like a weird opening credits. So
yeah, Fight Club doesn't. I mean, Gone Girl doesn't. But yeah, just a very, very stylish, slick thriller. It's one of the best performances I've seen this year. My list going forward will be a lot of dudes, a lot of dude performances.
Because you're a sexist, that's okay.
Exactly, yeah.
It's not, but
misogynist specifically. But yeah, one of the best dude performances this year. Dudes rock this year is my motto. Or dudes rock last year. We'll see going forward if they still rock. But yeah, they rock for now. Mr. Fincher, The Killer, my number 9.
Okay, this didn't crack my top 10 list, but it's a good movie.
Yes,
I think it's as all of David Fincher's movies are. I don't think there's not a bad one in the bunch. I even like Alien 3, and yeah, it's a movie where I'm like overall, I don't know if it completely hangs together, but it's got so many great parts in it. Like I mentioned the Tilda Swinton scene. It's got one of the best fights in any movie ever. Despite this being a great year for action, I think one of the best action scenes is actually in this movie, which is much more of a thriller. It's just visceral and bloody, and just like where he's fighting Florida Man. Just the sound design in that scene is so good. So yeah, I respect this a lot. I like this movie quite a bit.
Yes. Okay. So your number 9 coming up here. Your number 9. Oh yeah, I have to guess. Your number 9 is John Wick 4.
No, not quite.
All right.
It is though a fourth film in a franchise that I love a lot. It is The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
What are the Hunger Games for?
Are you coming to the truth?
The Hunger Games, they're to punish the districts. Those tributes don't have a choice.
Your role is to turn these children into spectacles, not survivors.
We're live!
Smile. It's why we have teeth.
Imagine it was your name that they pulled.
Strange things do happen here.
I just want to know that somebody still cared about me, that I was still of value.
I'm just gonna say, this is the best prequel ever. I don't think that, like honestly, think about it for a second.
Okay.
Think about it for a second. If you can think of a better prequel, let me know. And maybe you'll say Indiana Jones 2, which I would disagree with. That movie's barely even a prequel. It technically happens beforehand, but yeah, this movie does all the things which prequels should do but don't, which is instead of making the world feel smaller, it makes the world feel bigger. You understand so much more about the world. You understand more about the games and why Panem is the way it is, and you don't sympathize with Snow or empathize with him either, but you understand him on a deep level. You understand why he is the way he is. It makes him so much more of an interesting villain in the original Hunger Games franchise. He's somebody you were like, you're watching this movie, and it's like Better Call Saul, which I think is, it's a TV show, so it wouldn't count, but that's also one of the great prequels. And just like Saul, you're like, you want this guy, you kind of like this guy, and you want him to succeed, but he's going to have this downfall and become a dark, horrible person. And in this case, even much more of a worse person than even Saul would be. And you get him. He's great. There's some great performances in this movie. You've got of course Tom Blythe in the main role, Rachel Ziegler in the kind of female lead, Lucy Gray Barrett. She's really good, great singing in this. Then you've got people like Peter Dinklage, Hunter Schafer, Viola Davis, and then Jason Schwartzman. This is his year. Like, this is his year of just like doing weird supporting or like whatever performances. I thought he was phenomenal as Lucky Flickerman. So yeah, this one for me has to be on the list.
Half of Godfather 2 is a better prequel than this movie.
Okay, that's half of a movie. That doesn't count. Godfather that doesn't count. It's only half of Godfather.
All right, Wonka, better prequel than this
No.
movie.
Get the fuck out of here. Is Wonka on your top 10 of 2023?
No, it's not.
Then shut. Okay.
Prey is a better sequel. Prey is a better prequel than Ballad of Balls and Snakes.
Songbirds, my friend, and I mean
no. And no, just no. That's pretty.
You don't like this movie?
I haven't seen it. Honestly, I haven't seen it.
Then you can't even judge it. You can't say it's a better prequel if you haven't seen it. This movie is phenomenal. I like Prey a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, I guess Prey is a prequel. It's more of just a movie that is set in the because it's not like this is like you find out like the origins of Dutch or something like that. Like,
all right.
But yeah, okay,
Yeah.
You could make that argument.
Okay, I will and I have.
But you can't because you haven't seen the Hunger Games prequel. So
yeah, okay.
It's not as good as Prey is good. It was not on my top 10 list though of the year it came out. So
all right, so that was your number 9.
That was my number 9.
Okay, so back to me. What do you think?
You.
What do you think my number 8 is, Derick?
My number 8 pick for you, or I think your number 8 pick is Anatomy of a Fall.
Wow, really? Wow, nailed it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's incredible.
All right.
My number 8 is Anatomy of a Fall.
Tu m'as dit que t'avais entendu tes parents, maman, t'es sorti de la maison, c'est ça?
En fait, j'entendais pas vraiment les mots, j'avais que des bouts de voix, mais ça faisait...
Oui, mais non, si t'avais pas les mots, du coup, tu peux pas savoir si c'était une dispute ou pas.
Enfin, je sais ce que j'ai entendu.
So, as you know, the autopsy report is inconclusive about the cause of death.
Stop. I did not kill him.
That's not the point.
Il parle de tromperie.
I was honest about it.
Mais vous l'avez pas été l'année de sa mort avec cette fille avec qui vous l'avez trompé, pourquoi? Il y a quand même quelque chose d'un peu étrange dans cette situation. Vous admettez qu'il était jaloux?
Non, I don't know.
Allez, écoutez-vous, on a l'impression que vous l'avez trompé continuellement.
Quand il commence à se reprocher des trucs, moi je préfère m'en aller.
Tu peux pas me dire qui était le plus énervé des deux?
Non.
Est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire à quoi il fait référence quand il parle?
Obviously directed by Justine Triet, my first movie I've seen of her. Stars the amazing Sandra Hüller, Swan Arland, and Milo Machado Granier, and a dog named Snoopy. I don't know if that's the actual
His name is Snoop.
His name is Snoop. Gotcha. Yeah. In addition to Dudes Rock, my list also includes a lot of acting rocks, a lot of faces, a lot of slow pan-ins, a lot of speeches, a lot of monologues, a lot of people acting and yelling and doing a lot of that sort of stuff. That's aside from this year being Dudes Rock, it's also monologues rock, long scenes rock. Just that I love that stuff. So this had all of it in there. Also, I love like we were talking about earlier this week, or maybe it was a week and a half ago, about Spider-Man 3. I am bringing Spider-Man 3, talking about Anatomy of a Fall. I like movies that
equally
present
good movies. I'm just kidding. One is clearly better than the other, and that's Spider-Man 3. Continue.
I like movies that have ambiguousness in it, or ambiguity. I can't say ambiguity, so I say ambiguousness.
Ambiguity?
Ambiguity. Yes, that word. Yes, it presents the audience with gray, a moral grayness. And spoiler alert for this movie. If you haven't seen it, skip ahead. But the movie the movie doesn't present a concluding, a solid conclusion to did the woman do it or not. You're sort of left up to the audience to whether or not she did it. And my interpretation was that it was a murder-suicide. I think her husband was drunk and he was suicidal and he wanted to die and she wanted to kill him. And I think he probably tripped and she probably pushed him and he allowed himself to fall and she allowed him to fall. I think that's probably what happened. But again, that's not really the crux of the movie, and that's not really the point of the movie, is to determine the point of the movie is not to determine who did what. It's more about that stuff, about how the prosecutor and how prosecutors in general, if they don't have compelling evidence, they'll attack your character and they'll talk about the extraneous stuff of like, did you write this book? You stole this book from him and he hated you for it and blah blah. That's why you fought. Okay, it has nothing to do with the case. Sandra Hüller, one of the best performances I've seen in a very long time in this. Like I said, great screenplay, great editing, great house, great environment. Fantastic film. Anatomy of a Fall, my number 8.
Yeah, this is a film that I also saw that it's not cracking my top 10 or my honorable mentions, but I think that there's some interesting stuff in it for sure. Really good screenplay. Like you said, this is a. By the way, your assessment makes no sense, because why would she push him off and let the kid discover it? It doesn't seem like her character to me. But like I said, that's not the point. The point is to be, it's this movie about how important context is, and how you can take snippets of things and it's not going. People think that gives you the whole story, but it really gives you nothing, and that it is impossible to really understand another person, even when you are married to them, even when you're spending your life with them, even when they're your parent. So yeah, all that stuff I found really interesting. I will say it's not the best movie about how impossible it is to know another person, and how being in a relationship is just weird and complicated, and the person you're with might be not the best, with a German bisexual in the middle of it. I think that's Passages.
It's very specific.
Right. Exactly. It's not even the best one of those this year. I think, so I got to give that to Passages, but still a good movie. It's
a very good movie, yes. All right, so that was my number 8. I'm just checking here. We're creeping up onto some stuff that we have to play the clips for. So that was my number 8. We'll go to your number 8. Let me see. Let me find my list for you. All right. So I'm going to say, Derick, your number 8 is Air.
Afraid not. My number 8. Yeah. And this is one that I had mentioned. A lot of people consider this a 2022 movie, although it did not get. It had one of those releases to get an Oscar release in LA and New York. in 2022. Didn't get a proper release till 2023, so I'm counting it as 2023. And that is Woman Talking.
It was all waiting to happen before it happened. You could look back and follow the breadcrumbs along the path that led to violence. When we looked back, it had been everywhere.
It is a part of our faith to forgive. We would be forced to leave the colonies if we do not forgive these men.
None of you will listen to reason.
We know that we've not imagined these attacks. We know that we are bruised and terrified.
Hope for the unknown.
Like I mentioned, this is one of the best screenplays I think I've ever seen or ever, witnessed, I guess. Some absolutely phenomenal female performances. Just, it's like, what if we had all of the greatest actors of our current generation and the generation before all in a movie? And this movie is doing everything that I think people talked about Barbie doing, whereas Barbie's still great, but it's very surface level in its ideas about feminism and female autonomy and all that stuff. Where this dives a lot more deeper and a lot more intense. But it also touches on people who are like it addresses like TERFs essentially. Like it's like these are women who are trying to break away from this patriarchal society, but they're also kind of alienating this trans man and the struggles that he's gone through. It's really phenomenal. It's the way it talks about the ways that the misogyny is created not only by women not only by men, but by women who are benefiting from it or have been harmed by it and just kind of want to see the system of harm continue because it's what they've gone through. It touches on so many things on so many levels that I can't even really begin to scratch the surface of here. It's an interesting look for a film. It's very washed out. So yeah, all around, it's a movie I unfortunately did not. I wanted to go back to it. I haven't gotten around to it since early 2023, but I think it has to be mentioned here. Didn't get a chance to put it on my list last year because, as I said, it didn't really come out last year. So it has to be here at number 8 for me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it as well when I saw it. Trying to look up if it won. Did it win Best Screenplay, or was it? It was nominated for Best Screenplay.
It did win Best Screenplay. Thank God it did. Because goddamn.
Was that the? And also it was like the 10th nomination for Best Picture, right?
Yeah, it crept in there. It was. I don't know. Like it's not like there's like an order of Best Pictures, but it was one of the 10.
Yes. Yeah, very good. Again, talking about Josie Buckley, probably one of my favorite actresses working today. Definitely will see fingernails for her performance in that. Yep. Let's see. So that was your number 8.
So now I'm guessing you're number 7.
You're guessing my number 7.
Yeah, let's see if I can get it right on one more time. Let's say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
No, sir, it is not.
Okay, I was trying to go for 2 in a row. All right, what is it?
Unfortunately, no, I missed it by quite a bit. I'll say its position when I get to honorable mentions. Right. But my actual number 7 is Godzilla -1. Is this higher on your list?
It is not.
Okay, good. It's Godzilla -1. Just one of those that came out of nowhere. Just sort of like the Iron Claw. I did hear about the Iron Claw earlier in the year than I did Godzilla -1, but it's still, when I saw it and I heard all of the fervor. Again, it's a rare movie that comes out of nowhere, has a lot of fervor, has a lot of had a lot of buzz, a lot of hype around it. Lived up to the hype, lived up to all that stuff. Exceeded it in some ways. yeah, one of the best, again, action movies from this year. Really well shot action, but again, it's not about that stuff. It's about the people. I think it does that stuff very well. Has very, I guess I would say overt homages to things like Jaws, to people like you and I who see the movies like this over and over again, and we'll spot that stuff and we'll pick that stuff out. Very incredible performances. I love movies that where it's getting the gang together, but each of the gang has a specific sort of look to them, and that, I think that leads to the feeling of loss and a feeling of grief it's a feeling of trepidation when you see these people in danger, especially the last moment when Godzilla is about to do the atomic blast, and everyone's just sort of like, consigned to being killed, to being vaporized by the blast. That slow motion moment is probably, I should have mentioned that in the best moments of the year, because that was one of them. And again, great performances, great storytelling on a very small budget. Takashi Yamazaki definitely will be looking forward to the next thing they do. So yeah, Godzilla -1, my number 7.
Yeah, very, very great film. One that it didn't crack my top 10, like we said, or my honorable mentions, but this is a very good movie. I'm not a huge Godzilla fan, but this one I really enjoyed because it put the emphasis on the people. You really cared so much about the people. Godzilla is there as a monster and a metaphor for nuclear destruction and just the, what Japan had been going through coming out of this terrible war and, feeling tremendous guilt for this terrible war and this guy who has survivor's guilt. And like we talked about in the episode when we covered it, realizing that human life does matter, and his arc that he has to go on and the characters around him have to go on, where it's I love that they are we're gonna do this without losing anybody. We're not gonna sacrifice anybody here to kill Godzilla. And Godzilla is just so mean and scary. He's not the savior like he is in so many movies. He's not goofy. He is terrifying. It's very it draws a lot from Spielberg. From Jaws, obviously, from Jurassic Park. This movie is just a great monster movie.
Yes, indeed. So, getting to our number 7s here, right? Yes. Your number 7, I'm going to go ahead and guess. I'm going to guess it's one of the heavy hitters. I'm going to guess it's Barbie.
Nope. It is one it's the one you guessed at my number 9, and that is John Wick Chapter 4. Yeah, John Wick Chapter 4. I've always liked the John Wick films, but I feel not quite as much as a lot of people. I felt like, especially since they were kind of diminishing returns for me as the world kept getting bigger. I felt like they were getting less interesting, and so I actually didn't see this one right away. I haven't seen any of the John Wick films in theaters, actually including this one technically, but I had a chance to actually watch this. And I think it was, it is important how you see a movie. And I think this was maybe the perfect way to watch John Wick Chapter 4, which is this big, beautiful action epic with neon lights and fights down staircases and crazy rules that you kind of don't care about but are awesome. And Donnie Yen and a guy with a dog that's his enemy but then he's his friend. And just, Keanu Reeves just giving a great performance in this, and as a man who's running out of time. And I watched this... I went on a cruise earlier this year, and I was on a boat. Obviously, that's where you take a cruise. And and there was a midnight showing of this because they would do movies up on the deck. And for some reason, at midnight, one of the nights, they were John Wick 4. I was at the club, had a bunch of drinks, and was like, cool, I'm going to go up, chill on the deck, hang out in my lounge chair, and watch John Wick 4 in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And it had a fucking blast. It was so much fun. This is the best John Wick movie. This is one of the best action movies I've seen this decade. No question. I absolutely love it. If this is the last John Wick movie, this is a perfect place to end it. But it also is if they make more, I'm okay with that. I really love this movie. I want to watch it again. I don't know. I can't replicate the incredible situation where I got to watch it that first time. But man, it is a blast. John Wick is just doing his thing, and whereas the rules and all that stuff, which felt like a hindrance in part 3, they just felt like, you know what? Let's just go with it. Let's just have some fun. He's just out here killing, and it's the Marquise, you have to kill the clown from it. It's okay, cool. You just go with it. And they clearly had so much. They gave them a huge budget to kind of just do whatever the fuck they wanted, and they were just like, we're just gonna do some of the most interesting, inventive action that we've ever done. Much like I mentioned, in the talking about the editing and stuff as Extraction, how you're like, let's give these stunt guys like a chance to direct these big budget action movies. And there's a reason that the John Wick series has hit so hard, and why this is kind of the perfect John Wick movie.
Yes, sir. Dudes rock. The year of Dudes rock continues with John Wick 4. Indeed. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those you're just like, yeah, he's getting older, just like Tom Cruise, just like all these guys. I'm fascinated, Derick. I don't know if you are, to just see how long these guys can just go. I'm imagining Keanu is near 60. I know Tom is 60. Just like, are we going to watch these guys just grind themselves into dust in front of our eyes over and over again? Like, seriously, how long can these guys do it? But yeah, he's there for now. So very cool. Yep, that was your number 7.
7, yeah.
7, yeah. So go ahead and guess my number 6.
Now, your number 6, I'm going to guess, is a movie that is not going to be on my top 10, and that is Rotting in the Sun.
No, sir. Now, So the thing with this is I have to play a clip of my mom, because this is my mom's. My number 6 is also my mother's number 1 favorite movie of 2023.
Good evening, Derick and Damien. Derick, I'm Damien's mom, and we went to quite a few movies this year, and I just wanted to share my favorite, which was Maestro. I just like all the performances and how they all were pretty intense, and I love the relationships in that movie, and that was it.
That was my mom. Thanks, Mom, for calling in. Talking about your favorite movie of the year and my number 6, Maestro.
I love people so much that it's hard for me to be alone. That music, it keeps me glued to life.
I don't even know how much you need me, do you?
I might.
If Sama doesn't sing in you, then nothing sings in you.
Never think of his name. I'm going to pull it up here real quick.
Bradley Cooper.
Mr. Bradley Cooper, second directorial effort. Obviously starring Carey Mulligan. It very much became, I noticed her name is first here in the cast list, very much became a Carey Mulligan film near the end there, about halfway in and near the end there. It very much became about her. Spoilers for this movie and spoilers for all these movies going forward. She does, I think her character passes away about at the halfway mark or 2/3 of the way into the movie, and then so it's very much about her up until then, and at that point, incredible performance by both of them. This is very much in line with things like Whiplash and movies about artists, sacrificing all of the stuff that you need to do in order to be the best at what you do. It's in terms of biopics, again, I think there was another one I saw earlier this year with like Iron Claw, which was, think about that movie and you anytime you see a biopic now, you're like, well, it's the not Ricky Bobby. What was the parody biopic?
Oh, Walk Hard.
Walk Hard. Yeah, you always think about Walk Hard when you see a biopic these days. I think it has done the best. Maestro is the best at sort of avoiding those pitfalls of modern biopics, of just focusing on what this guy did in these years of his life. And also, I think focusing on Carey Mulligan's character, Felicia Montelriga, focusing on her character a lot, I think helped avoid a lot of those pitfalls you see because you took the focus away from Leonard Bernstein himself. I think this is, a lot of people are saying it's just that performance. It's just a movie about the greatness of Leonard Bernstein, and I think it does a disservice talking about it in that way because, I think we do take we take for granted the amount of representation we see now. I think still a very new thing. I think 10 years ago, you wouldn't have the Matt Bomer character. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have had that relationship. You wouldn't have had that as spotlighted, as forwarded as it is now. I think it's not something we should be thankful for. I think it's something should have been there from the beginning, but it is something to be noted. And so I praise that movie for that as well. And just the scene at the end, near the end, where he's doing the, I forget the actual piece of music, but it is this incredible, like 2.5 minute, 3 minute sort of performance that he does to a concerto. Really, really incredible just for that scene. So my number 6, Maestro.
Very nice, very nice. I actually didn't get to finish this one. I started watching it, but then I was like running out of time, so I was like, I just threw on No Hard Feelings. So I did see the first half, and it's a good movie. I think good performances. I'm glad that there is that representation of a Jewish queer person, even if he is played by a Gentile straight man in Bradley Cooper. And like unfortunate prosthetics maybe on his nose. I'm like, Leonard didn't have that big of a nose. That's kind of not great. But that's really cool. I like that this is your mom's pick. It's nice to hear from her. She seems like a very nice lady. Hello, how's it going, Mama Sherman? How come you don't have an accent? Like that's my question. Is I can tell where she's from. I can't tell where you're from.
Yeah, I think I might get lost there in the progression.
Okay.
I'm not like the when we talk about like accents of Northeasterners, it's just I've heard that we don't pronounce T's, like I'll say mountain and there is no T there. If you notice, like we'll lose T's and things like that, but generally it's like, what accent are you talking about? From Maine, people from Maine have an accent, people from Boston, obviously, people from around those areas have an accent, but I think if you took me and somebody from like Ohio, I think we sound pretty similar. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'll have to go back and listen. I didn't really. What sort of accent were you picking out there from her?
When she said she was your ma.
Oh, ma. Yeah. I think she's probably playing up for the camera or for the microphone or whatever.
Oh, well done, Mr. Sherman.
So that was my number 6. My mom's number 1, Maestro. Derick, what is your number 6? Let me guess. Your number 6 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
My number 6 is one you had guessed at my number 10, which is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Hitler made mistakes, and with this, I will correct them all. You stole it. Then you stole it.
And then I stole it. It's called capitalism.
This way! Fasten your seatbelts. There might be some turbulence.
You've taken your chances, made your mistakes. And now a final triumph.
Give him hell, Indiana Jones! A few times in my life I've seen things. I've been tortured with voodoo. Been shot 9 times, including once by your father. Sorry! But I've been looking for this all my life.
And this is one I probably could have put on the overlooked. Although a lot of people saw this movie, but I think that the reaction to it was fairly mixed. But yeah, for me, I thought this movie was phenomenal. I actually rewatched the beginning of it last night. That whole extended opening sequence where he's on the train, and it's basically, like what would we have made if we had made a fourth Indiana Jones movie in the 90s or a fifth Indiana Jones movie in the 90s. Where they're going after the spear, and then it becomes, the thing that they're really going after, which is the dial of destiny itself, the anti-chiron, however you pronounce it, the dial invented by Archimedes, and it becomes this really interesting movie about time and about how we spend our time, and when you feel like you are past your time and past your usefulness. I think that's a really interesting recurring theme that comes up again and again in the movie. I think that Harrison Ford does an incredible job with that. It's a movie that feels like it's very reverent of the Indiana Jones films that came before it without feeling like overly reliant on it to the point where the ending of this movie kind of goes off the rails in a pretty spectacular way, which, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Indiana Jones 5, when he goes back in time. They go back to ancient Greece when it is getting attacked. The siege of what was it? The siege of it was in Sicily and Syracuse. And yeah, the kind of Indiana Jones feeling like he's past his time. He wants to just die in the past, and him not doing that. People being like, no, we're not going to let you do that. This is not your time. You are not past your usefulness. And I love that these villains are, as they are so often in Indiana Jones movies, completely misunderstand the thing they want to control. He thinks he can control time, he can rewrite history, so that he can be the better Hitler, and so that the Nazis can win the war. But he was never going to win. It's my favorite kind of time travel too, where time is set and he doesn't understand that. It's just a great finale to a really great series. It's not nowhere near as good as Indiana Jones 1 or 3. I will of course say that those are two perfect movies, but honestly, I think it is third in my overall rankings of Indiana Jones films. So yeah, I loved this movie.
Yeah, I think the response that a lot of people had to it was kind of muted, given the fact that it had a $300 million budget, just barely made its money back domestically, I believe. Wikipedia has it at $384 million, but I'm assuming that was just domestic, right?
Yeah,
right.
I know it did not do well, and who gives a shit? Like, it's a great movie. Like, I don't care. Like, you can see that the money's on the screen. It's not like the $300 million was not well spent. Even in those scenes, like, there's sometimes at the beginning when you see the flashlight in Harrison Ford's face, it's a little off. But when he's on that train and he's running around, you're like, this is young Harrison Ford. What is going on? Like, I don't know. It worked for me.
Indeed. Let's see. So we're getting to our top 5 right now. Speaking of small bladders, why don't we take another break before we get to our top 5, and we will be right back. And we're back doing our top 5 best movies of 2023. I'm up with my number 5. Derick, what do you think is my number 5?
I had predicted for you How to Blow Up a Pipeline.
No, sir. That is not my number 5. My number 5 is the same as Dion's number 5. Let's hear from him.
Hey, it's your boy DJ, former co-host. Can I say something? Fulfilling my pod civic obligation to all my adoring fans and to my number 1 guys, Damien and Derick. I'm here to let you know my number 1 movie of 2023. Turn your volume up so you can hear my sweet, sweet voice, but then turn it down real fast so your eardrums don't blow when I drop this bomb. Oppenheimer style, baby. Yeah, Christopher Nolan. Yep. So Christopher Nolan, he's in elite form with this masterful character study of the man that rewrote warfare, Mr. Oppenheimer. The movie is beautiful and brilliant while dark and dreadful. A magnificent and borderline unreal cast ranging from Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey, and Matt Damon, down to the resurgence of Josh Hartnett, and yeah, even the head elf from the Santa Claus who gave Tim Allen all that shit. Bernard. That was his name, Bernard. That's not the actor's name, but that was the elf's name. It's rife with political intrigue, gallows humor, and snappy dialogue, set to the backdrop of brooding, ominous music. The tension is set out of the gate, it lingers like fallout even after the bomb is dropped. See what I did there? Masterful sound editing and cinematography on display with scenes like the bomb testing in a thunderstorm. The bomb detonates, and for seemingly an eternity, there's only silence and flames. Excellent execution of less is more, never showing the true devastation of the bomb, but using Oppenheimer and the audience's knowledge to deliver the blow. This is a classic Nolan touch of black and white intertwined with color and the seamless transition at the end. Shades of Memento. This is Nolan at its finest and perhaps even a level beyond. He has become death, destroyer of anyone else's hopes getting an Oscar this year. Much love, boyos.
That was Dion, former co-host of Can I Say Something, calling with his number 1 film of 2023, Oppenheimer, which is my number 5. Yeah, this movie blew me away.
Well, hold on.
Yes.
First of all, stop sharing the screen because I'm getting my echo now. Thank you.
Okay.
Second of all, this is the first. I do have this higher on the list, so
you have it higher.
Put a pin.
Gotcha.
I do have this higher.
Put a pin in it.
Of course, I'm going to
Let
put
it explode
Oppenheimer
later.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like I'm not going to have Oppenheimer on my list at some point. So yeah, first crossover for us. Who knows? Maybe there'll be more, but yeah, this
could
one,
be more.
We'll talk about later.
Okay, so I have to guess your number 5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna guess your number 5 is Guardians 3.
Wrong again, my friend.
Okay.
My number 5 is we just talked we're going to talk about soon a film by a master filmmaker, but this one is from a different master filmmaker, also about the kind of fallout of World War II, and that is The Boy and the Heron.
Mahito.
So, you made it.
Mother.
Have a seat.
It's this way, Mahito.
A lot of strange things happen in this place. I just hope he stays safe.
Save me.
Save me, Mahito!
What exactly are you?
Your mother. She's awaiting your rescue. I'll be your guide.
What is this place? This world is filled with the dead.
Yeah. Okay. This is, I'm a huge Miyazaki guy. I think he is an absolute master. And this is, this is the film coming out, his like 4th or 5th retirement film. But yeah, this one, it's one of those vibes movies where on an intellectual level, things don't really 100% make sense. Not that you can't follow it, because you clearly can follow the plot and the story, but it's much more a film about emotion and visuals and really a visceral feeling that you go through in this world of animation, in a world that could only exist in animation. Even in this world where anything can be recreated with CGI, I don't think anything could really ever look like this. Even American animation can't look like this. And it doesn't look like any other films that Miyazaki's ever done because he didn't do as much of it. And that's why it was delayed for so long. It was supposed to originally come out with the to coincide with the 2020 Olympics, which were also, of course, delayed. But it got delayed further and further because he just can't work as fast, because he is a guy who just had his 83rd birthday just like a week or two ago. And yeah, so a lot of other animators came in and worked on this, and it's this really collaborative process, and it honestly, more than any film I've ever seen, feels like it sums up a director's entire career, where it brings in the stuff, his more kind of like down-to-earth serious films that he would do. The film that originally was supposed to be his last film, which The Wind Rises, which is about the World War II and the guilt that people would feel during the fall of that. It's about this boy who loses his mother, much like Miyazaki himself did, but then it also goes into this really rich fantasy world which has these cute little creatures, but then it has these intense moments of action, and it's so brilliantly stunning. Like watching this thing on a big screen and feeling these emotions, letting the sound hit you, letting the dialogue hit you, letting these visuals that are unlike not only like anything that American audience. This is even unlike Miyazaki films, like that first scene where they're going through the fire and it's just this weird washed out. It looks so cool, so good. It's clearly very autobiographical, about this old master who is he's built this fantasy world, and he's trying to impart this on the next generation. And some people have said that that's Miyazaki's mentor. A lot of people think that's Miyazaki himself, and the boy in it is his son, who he has a very complicated relationship with, who's an animated director on his own, and Goyo Miyazaki, who is maybe not the most beloved director, and just kind of the ways that we build up these these things, and we like, this is something great we're going to pass on to the next generation, and it's like, actually, is this built on blood and sweat and tears and these systems that are no longer need to be in place, and what does that all mean for the world going forward? What does this art really mean? What does reckoning with this legacy mean? And Miyazaki, who has said multiple times he's very conflicted about his own career, this feels like a real impressive, powerful final statement that is a great metaphor. It's a great fantasy film, and it's a great movie about much like, we're going to obviously talk about Oppenheimer, much like Godzilla -1, which came out in back-to-back weeks. It's kind of incredible that there was 2 #1 Japanese language films at the American box office in back-to-back weeks, and they're both these reckonings of post-World War II and the guilt that Japan has felt for that. It's so many things, and it's so many more things than I've mentioned. But I have to stop talking at some point. But yeah, Boy and the Heron.
Boy and the Heron, How Do You Live? Yeah, fantastic film. I'll just say it's 2 spots out of my top 10. It's number 12. Tried to find a spot for it at the last minute. Again, going back to how long we were thinking about this, that was in there for quite a while. Yeah, it's a fantastic movie. I saw it in English. I really want to see it in Japanese. I think again, talking about things, we'll go back to looking at these movies from this year. Probably one of the last movies that are going to be constructed like this. Hand-drawn animation is going the way of the dodo, not the way of the heron, but the way of the dodo. Yeah, the animation is incredible. Thank you. The animation, yeah, like you said, is incredible. One of his best movies, one of my favorite movies since, Spirited Away, all that stuff, Howl's Moving Castle. I very much liked his last one, The Wind Rises. The Wind Rises. I like that a lot. That could have worked as a last film on his career. I think this works just as well, if not better. So yeah, I agree with everything you said. Definitely want to see this in Japanese. But again, it is noted that the American actors were very good as well. Again, a performance that I don't think anybody would have known if you didn't look at the names. Robert Pattinson playing the Grey Heron was really, really, really incredible.
He sounds exactly like the Japanese guy. It's amazing.
Yes, he does. He did an incredible performance there. Gemma Chan as Natsuko, Christian Bale as Soichi Maki, Mark Hamill as the Grand Uncle, Florence Pugh as Kiriko, Willem Dafoe as the Noble Pelican, Dave Bautista as the Parakeet King. Fantastic American performances. But yeah, great movie. Yeah. Well spoken about it. Yeah.
And I didn't even mention the way that this is almost like a petite maman, where it's like this guy going to meet his mom and like reckoning with that, which is something that also happens with another film, All of Us Strangers, this year. But it's where he meets her at the same age and they go on this crazy adventure, like Spirited Away style. So good. So good.
Yes, exactly. So that was your number 5. Moving up to the number 4 film of 2023 for me was Poor Things.
This is Bella. Bella, this is Mr. McCandles.
Hello, Bella.
No! She's an experiment.
Good evening.
Her brain and her body are not quite synchronized. But she's progressing at an accelerated pace.
Tell me, where did she come from?
I shall. For it is a happy tale.
Yep.
I get to guess.
Sorry, I forgot. What was your guess? What was your guess?
Well, you're not going to believe me, but my guess was Poor Things for you.
Okay.
And the reason, could I tell you the reason for this? It's because
yes.
Almost every list that I've seen with Poor Things on the top 10 has been number 4. So I was like, well, fuck it. I'll just put Damien at number 4 for Poor Things. Like, for no other reason. Like, I was like, you texted me that you liked it a lot. So I was like, it's probably on his top 10. And like, for some reason, it doesn't matter what the top 3 are, what 5 through 10 is. It sits there at 4. So thank you for proving my theory correct.
Yes. Yeah, incredible. One of the best Lanthimos movies I've seen. I've been a fan of his for a long time. I love his direction. I love his. He has this dark whimsy. Like Wes Anderson had the light, light color, but also light in tone whimsy. Lanthimos has this very dark whimsy. What's the other word they use for Wes Anderson? Whimsical and
quirky. Quirksicle.
Yes, thank you. Quirksicle. Thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for. It's quirky and it's whimsical. But again, dark version of that. And this is very much that. It's like a Tim Burton quirky and whimsical. Like I said before, Jean-Pierre Jeunet, the Alien Resurrection director, and City of Lost Children, and those movies, very reminiscent of that. It's got some Del Toro references in there with the set decorations and the costuming. Again, Emma Stone, great year for her with this and The Curse. Out on TV, but yeah, I referenced her performance earlier, and it's one of the most. It's unhinged, but it's also controlled. We were referencing the dance sequence before, and that seems like the epitome of this movie, or it's the concentrated performance in that scene is everything in her performance throughout the entire movie. It seems just her throwing a thing out there and trying it, but it's also very controlled. It's incredible. Mark Ruffalo is great in this movie. Willem Dafoe working under some heavy prosthetic. I've never seen really Rami Youssef before in anything, but he was very good in this. Gerard Carmichael, I loved his stand-up, and I loved On the Count of Three, the movie he did. Actually, him and Christopher Abbott were in the movie On the Count of Three. Christopher Abbott, no spoilers for this for the plot of the movie, but he does appear at like the 50-minute mark in this. He's very good in this. Some other people, I won't spoil it for anybody that hasn't seen this, but some other people do pop up that you're like, oh my god, they're out of nowhere. Yeah, incredible. Like I said, incredible score, incredible direction, great editing, and one of the most unique and beautiful and broken and sad and joyful performance I've seen in a very long time from Emma Stone. Yeah, she is by far the front runner for winning the Best Actress of the Year. Maybe her and Margot Robbie for next year. So yeah, incredible. Poor Things, my number 4.
Yeah, this is one that was just sitting outside my top 10. It's one that this is the one I was referencing earlier when I was like, I watched something and I was like, is there a spot for it? Probably not. I couldn't kick. I was like, I was like debating, but I was like, I'm not kicking out Talk to Me or any of the other ones. But yeah, everything you've said is absolutely true. It's just this. It's I love, as I mentioned, the Tony McNamara script. I think that it makes Yorgos Lanthimos so much more palatable. Unlike a lot of Yorgos Lanthimos things, which feel dark and depressing and sad, it really is very uplifting at the end. I mean, there's sad moments, but it ultimately is an incredibly hopeful movie about the human race and about people going forward, and about the effect that one positive person can have on society and those around them. Emma Stone just gives a career-defining, incredible performance in this movie. She is so freaking good. And I will say also that she is definitely my hall pass has been for a long time, and this movie did not do anything to dissuade me from that, I will say. So yeah, she's great. All of the supporting actors in it you mentioned are great, and this is a movie that I'm like, well, maybe it's not dude's year, because you had this, you had Barbie, you had Woman Talking, kind of. So I think solid movie that I in another year would have cracked my top 10, but not quite this year, just how strong it was for me.
Yes, indeed. So we have to go to you for your number 4, correct?
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
I'm going to guess your number 4 is Talk to Me.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, we know that is not the
That's
case.
not yours. That's not the case, yes.
Yeah, because we know that propped up at number 10.
Yes.
But yeah, so now it is time. I'll kick it to you, because we're going to be talking about Oppenheimer now. So since you picked it, it was going to be your pick at number 5. I'll let you go talk about it first.
We're in a race against the Nazis. I know what it means. If the Nazis have a bomb.
I have a 12-month head start. 18. How could you possibly know that?
We've got one hope. All America's industrial might and scientific innovation connected here. A secret laboratory. Keep everyone there until it's done.
Let's go recruit some scientists.
Build a town.
Oh, yes, right, of course. It's like Dudes Rock, I guess. Dudes Rock, I guess. Dudes create weapons of mass destruction. Rock.
Dudes become the destroyer of worlds.
Again, with this and Emma Stone, these probably my two favorite performances of the year. Again, talking about the movies that we picked, for the performances we picked that are going to be lavished acclaim. People are going to lavish acclaim onto this movie and Barbie, and because it's part of the Barbieheimer experience. I saw this and Barbie in the same day. I saw this first. Like I said before, I could not hold my piss through the 3 hours. Very, very long movie, but I think it moves. I've watched some of this since then again, and it definitely doesn't feel like 3 hours. I think that's a testament to the great editing and pacing and script work from Christopher Nolan and his brother. Just an incredible cast of characters. We'll talk about a movie with another large cast of character actors and characters in this, but you have not just is it Cillian? I think it's Cillian Murphy.
Cillian,
right? Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, Josh Hartnett, Casey Affleck, Rami Malek, Kenneth Branagh, Benny Safdie, Josh Clark, Dylan Arnold, David Dashmashkian, Dane DeHaan, Alden Ehrenreich, Tony Goldwyn, David Krumholtz, which Deanne mentioned in his review, Matthew Modine, Scott Grimes. Just so many people just keep popping up in this movie. It's like,
a lot of guys, a
lot of dudes. And then of course the scene with the explosion, with the silence. I thought that was, I know it's that moment I'm in the theater and it's about to happen. I'm like, what is this? What's going to happen? I'm like gripping my seat, like, going to be loud. It's going to be like not Tenet, like, or like Dunkirk, or like any of his movies are just so loud, and so much of Christopher Nolan's work has been about the sound, and I'm just like, what is going to happen? And it's so, I think, talking about what's confident filmmaking, he was confident enough to say, yeah, you're gonna sit in this movie and you're gonna watch an explosion, but you're not gonna hear anything, and that's gonna be you're gonna love it. And I did very much so. Just all the performances were really incredible. Great script. Robert Downey Jr. career best, I think. Obviously Cillian Murphy, Florence Pugh.
Damon,
I just can't.
Damon's so good in this.
Matt Damon is very good in this movie, and just the claustrofobicness you feel when he's cutting back and forth between, his early days and being interrogated in that room. And it's we say this all the time, but it's very prescient, and it's very much about paranoia and being ostracized for who you are. They probably didn't like him for his Jewishness, but they couldn't say that because, of course, they're in the middle of World War II. But they had to say, "Oh, you're a communist because you had these ties to this person." And it's just, like I said in the review, so we could have be so much farther as a human race if we just put aside bullshit like that. But of course we can't. And I think that's a lot of what this movie has to talk about. And we'll talk about that more later with some other big movies from the year. But yeah, my number 4. Is it my number 4?
It was your number 5, my number 4.
That was my number 5. Your number 4 is Oppenheimer.
Yeah,
incredible movie. Talk about it some more.
Yes, this movie, so good. Like everything you've said has been spot on. Incredible performances. Just a great movie about a guy who was both one of the people who ushered us into the modern age, but also maybe set us on a path for destroying ourselves and just humanity, destroying itself, and that last line of the movie is so absolutely chilling and powerful. Score for this movie done by Ludwig Göransson. I can never pronounce his name. It's the guy who did The Mandalorian. Thank you.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah, like just a lot of dudes in this movie, like you said, which helps you keep track of all these different scientists because you're like, I remember Josh Hartnett. So yeah, really, really phenomenal film. Despite being 3 hours and just mostly of people talking, you never feel its length because of the way that, I mean, I should have probably put it in best editing because of the editing in it. It's propulsion. It's like this kind of never-ending monologue, and the way that things cut back and forth, and how something in the past will be, influenced by something else that happened, or something in the present is influenced by something that happens in the past. It's just multi-layer filmmaking, like Nolan loves to do so much. And yeah, this is. I talked about how my viewing of John Wick that really affected my placement of this movie on here, and Oppenheimer is another one like that. This is a movie that I saw in a theater on a IMAX screen, but not a true IMAX screen, and I liked it a lot. I originally gave it a 4.5 star rating, but then I went back and decided I was like, you know what? There's like 30 screens in the world that are true IMAX that are showing this in 70 millimeter. That's like a thing that people are talking about, so I'm gonna spend the $25 and see it like that. And I did, and I was, people keep saying this, blown away by this movie. But yes, there was, and I thought, I was like, you know what, whatever, like, it's a gimmick. But there was something magical about watching it on that big, because I also saw Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny on that same screen, which was great. But there was something about seeing it in that 70 millimeter. It was a lot grainier than I first saw it. You could hear the whir of the projector. And I don't know, man. That was just some movie magic shit. And it made me, I was like, you know what? Bumping it up to an even 5. And from here on out, my top 4, they're all 5-star, just bangers for me.
Yeah, exactly. A couple other things I just pulled up my notes for Oppenheimer. It's very Sorkin-esque in its proclamations about the virtues of truth. They does that a lot, similar to stuff in Bridge of Spies about character assassination. Those are moments where they have like gallows humor, where they're talking about taking a bet on whether or not the thing's going to explode and kill everyone, kill all of humanity. And of course, the part where they're talking about where to drop the initial bomb, and he's like, well, you can't drop it in Kyoto because we vacation there. Just so many moments where you really see, this full spectrum of humanity and what we're capable of, the destruction and also the humor and also the persecution and also the fucking, a lot of fucking in that movie.
Dudes
fuck, dudes rock, and dudes fucking. Yep.
Also, hey, ladies can fuck now too. All right,
ladies can now fuck. Oh shit! So that was your number 3. Right?
That was my 4.
There was your 4. Shit. Okay. There's your 4.
I get to guess your number 3 now, but actually, I don't. Well, my guess is going to be wrong because my guess was Oppenheimer, so that's clearly incorrect.
So my number 3, again, it's trying to shuffle things around. It was sort of a last minute, but I'm pretty sure I will look back on this and deem it correct. The Holdovers. My number 3 is Alexander Payne's The Holdovers.
Sir, I don't understand.
That's glaringly apparent.
I can't fail this class.
Oh, don't sell yourself short, Mr. Coates. I truly believe that you can.
Every year at Barton Academy, students, faculty, and staff depart the campus for a 2-week winter break. But there are always an unfortunate few who have nowhere to go for the holidays. They're known as the Holdovers.
Mr. Hunnam.
Hello, Mary.
I heard you got stuck with babysitting duty this year. How'd you manage that?
You know, he used to be a student, right? Yeah, that's why he knows how to inflict maximum pain on us. I thought all the Nazis were hiding in Argentina.
Stifle it, Tully.
You just earned yourself a detention, sir.
Being here with you is already one big detention.
Son of a bitch, that's another detention.
Do you think I want to be babysitting you? No, I was praying your mother would pick up the phone or your father would arrive in a helicopter or a flying saucer.
My father's
to take you
dead.
You don't tell a boy that's been left behind at Christmas that nobody wants him? What's wrong with you?
There's nobody here, okay? You stay out of my way, and I'll stay out of yours.
this is a movie a lot of people are talking about being an instant Christmas classic, and I do very much agree. They also said it's very cozy and very comfortable, and Alexander Payne has asked a few people about that because they've interviewed him and said, that's the discussion around it, and he asked them, like, can you define that? Can you tell me why? He's like, I don't disagree with it, but I'm just curious why. And he just, takes place in a New England prep school during the winter, and it's a very cozy right there, just right there. And it's it takes place between it's just a two-hander, three-hander between just a few people. At first it's the entire school is there, and then cuts down to the people that have to stay there because they don't have anywhere else to go for the winter. And then it cuts down even further when a bunch of the class leaves to go to a ski vacation. So you just have the three main characters and actors, Paul Giamatti playing Paul Hunnam, Dominic Sessa in one of his first main acting roles, playing Angus Tully, and Divine Joy Randolph playing Mary, the one of the head chefs, head bakers there. One of the best performances I've seen this year. Will be very, very upset if she doesn't get nominated at the Golden Globes, and especially at the Oscars for supporting actress. One of the best performances I've seen this year from her. And just a great movie about found family. I think that's something that gets overlooked a lot, and I omit to talk about it here. They talk about it a lot on the House of R podcast about found family, about found friendships, and it's the it's the friends you make along the way. It's the family you meet along the way. It's finding mentorship, finding somebody that understands you. You can find that in the least likely of places. Paul Giamatti playing some sort of character that he's played before, the sort of grouchy curmudgeon that eventually comes around and melts his cold heart. Very specific type of character in this, though. Very snooty, and somebody that pronounces his words very carefully. I've always wanted to ask actors that if they have a performance like that is very specific in that way, of the way he carries himself, the way he pronounces words, the way he that sort of upper crust accent that he puts on. I've always been curious if that's something in the script, or if that's something that you bring to it, or if that's something you work with the director on to find together. But either way, very, very very cool performance there. So yeah, my number 3 is The Holdovers.
Very nice. Yeah, I liked this movie quite a bit. Didn't quite make my list, but I agree with you completely. This is a new Christmas classic. I'm a big fan of Sideways, so this obviously reuniting Alexander Payne with Paul Giamatti. I was like, let's go. I am so on board. I saw this like a day or two before Thanksgiving, so it really kicked off my Christmas season. I'm really glad. Like all great Christmas movies, it does have that thing of like found family that so many of them have. It does have that melancholy, and it does have that, if not happy, at least a bittersweet ending that I really love, that I think you need in a Christmas movie. And it does have that. You mentioned this is in like a New England, and you need to have a Christmas movie needs to be a bit snowy. I need to watch a Christmas movie, and me living in California, growing up here, I don't get Christmas, but I get it in the movies. When I watch a movie, I am transported to Christmas time in a way that I don't get to do in my real life, and this one absolutely did that.
Yes. So that was my number 3. So Derick, I have to guess what your number 3 is. Let me pull up my prediction list. I think your... I could just leave it open. I have a bunch of tabs, though. I'm tabbing through. Let's see. So, did you talk about Oppenheimer already? You did, right?
I did. Was that your guess for my number 3?
Yes.
Okay. I love how we each guessed each other Oppenheimer at number 3. We're both wrong. Obviously that was my number 4. My number 3 is Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves.
Here's the thing. We're a team of thieves. And when you do this, you're bound to make enemies. Sometimes those enemies come looking for revenge. Truth be told,
now this is a just great adventure fantasy movie that you don't, and it's a cliche, but you don't see movies like this anymore, where it's just a group of like plucky characters, misfits, going on a quest to stop the big evil guy. It feels like something that would be made in like the late 90s or early 2000s. I always make the comparison to like The Mummy. It has that, or the Brendan Fraser Mummy, or like Pirates of the Caribbean 1, or even, you know, even Guardians of the Galaxy exists because it's in the MCU. It's what Guardians of the Galaxy is for sci-fi, this is for fantasy. It has that same feelings of the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. So it's just a great adventure, fun movie with these characters that grow and you like and they develop and stuff like that. On that level, it's a phenomenal film. On the level of adaptation, this film is a masterpiece, and it takes a movie that was fucking incredible and just elevates it even further, because it's like, how would you adapt a D&D movie? Well, you could just like do a movie set in the D&D world or something like that, and that would be fine. That would be a good movie. But this movie feels like, wow, they just shot a campaign where there's things that go wrong, and there's crazy plans that don't make any sense, and there's character, and all of the characters behave like people would in a D&D campaign without actually ever doing that meta thing, without it having to be like have like a GM like insert or something like that. Like, watching this as a GM and player, you're like, wow, my players have done shit like that. Or I have made weird character decisions where like a character would do this. That guy is an NPC. He would just walk straight across that rock. Like, it's so brilliant. It's so good. And it's the movie that I have gone back to the most. I watched this movie 4 fucking times this year. This movie is so good. I will watch it in the 2024 and 2025 as well. I am sure. This is a movie that me and my brother also like we watched it independently, and it's one we've watched together twice. Of those times we watched it together. Like, it's an absolute blast. I love adventure movies, and you just don't get to see them that often anymore, especially not on this level of competence.
Yes, I had that as that's my prediction for your number 1. So,
oh wow,
I mean, I already blew that. Yeah.
It easily could have been. Another year would have been, but like 1 and 2, just okay. But yeah,
yes. Great movie as well.
Yeah.
Let's see. So that was your number 3.
Mm-hmm.
We're up to 2.
And
Derek, what do you think my number 2 is?
My guess for your number 2 is Killers of the Flower Moon.
Ding dong, ding dong.
Yes.
You got it. Yes, Killers of the Flower Moon is my number 2.
Whose land is this?
My land. Well, our war hero has arrived. You made a good choice coming back here. Osage are the finest, wealthiest, and most beautiful people on God's earth. They outsmarted everybody. They have the say who gets the oil. Son, I got a question. You like women?
That's my weakness.
Well, we mix these families together, and that estate money flows the right direction. It'll come to us.
Shomikasi. That's how you are.
I don't know what you said, but it must have been Indian for handsome devil.
Pull up all the stuff here. Yes. So yeah, we're a long piece about this on Letterboxd. I talked about it a lot, but yeah, it's just it's a movie that people need to see, and the wrong people are not going to see this, or if they do see it, they're not going to take away the right message. We're reeling back to that time of tyrants and big-headed, blustery men calling the shots. So that's not great. You know, I just, when we talked about it before, it's just, it has everything rolled up into one. You know, it's the capitalism, it's the fascism, it's the imperialism, it's the racism, it's all of that stuff. Because like I said before, it's the Venn diagram. If you take all of that stuff into a Venn diagram, it's just one perfect circle. It's all feeds off each other, it all complements each other. And we're just going to repeat that over and over again, because we just we want to take everything and scoop it up and suck it up, and you know, it's the evil version of well, not the evil version, because it's Daniel Plainview was pretty evil, but it's the evil version of There Will Be Blood. And, great editing. Thelma Shoemaker, great editor. Should have talked about this when we talked about editing. Yeah, very, very good. They commit atrocities. They pack it, and it's about committing atrocities, packaging it up, cleaning it up, shaving off all the hard edges, and selling that back to the victims and the perpetrators. Like I said in the review, we're the perpetrators. We are the. Actually, let me pull it up so I can get the actual thing I said about it. 1 second. Where would it show my reviews? I have to go to. Yeah. Okay. So I said, when it's all over, the story of America will be that we are both the cops and the robbers, the terrorists and the resistance, the perpetrators of mass atrocities, and the cleanup crew. That we are the drug dealers and the detoxifiers. So that's what we are. I think Scorsese was very aware of this. He ends the movie at that radio play and just says, he says to the audience and says to the critics, I know what I'm doing. I'm doing what we've done before and tell the story. But I think he's told it in the best way that he can at this point. Incredible performances. They said this before, but Leo DiCaprio playing Ernest, Lily Gladstone, gave one of the best performances this year. I think it's, I don't know what category she's going to go for. If she goes for lead, I don't know if she can get it from Emma Stone. I don't think she deserves to be supporting. I think it's a lead performance. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think she's definitely a lead in this movie.
Yeah, but very, very, very good. Talking about this and the Greta Lee performance in Past Lives, one of my two favorite performances this year, doing very similar things. Great performance by De Niro as well as always. Jesse Plemons as always again, and an amazing cast of characters. Jason Isbell playing Bill Smith. John Lithgow was great in this. Brendan Fraser, Scott Shepherd. Sturgill Simpson, a lot of country guys, got a country performers in this. We're great in this, and again another 3-hour epic that definitely moves. Definitely, you have so many different parts to it. That there are different sections to it that you can definitely see. Okay, let's sit down and watch this. Okay, this part moves when you're just finding out about what the case is, finding out what the world is, finding out what the situation is. That's the first part of the movie, and then the relationship being built and being destroyed, being slowly destroyed from the inside between Molly and Ernest. You have that corruption, that corroding of their relationship being brought on by De Niro's character William, him being slowly corrupted, and then the last act of the FBI coming in and trying to bring some sort of justice to this town that's been ravaged by white fucks and capitalism and racists and all of that stuff. So yeah, I cannot say enough about this movie. Really will be very, very interested to see. I think this will be the top running, the first runner. What's the word I'm looking for? Front runner. Thank you. My mouth is slowly melting. Front runner for best picture of the year will go to Killers of the Flower Moon. I predict it here and now. Yeah. So. Yep.
Yeah, no, this is obviously a spectacular film. Agree with most of what you said, that, yeah, this is a powerful movie. I love the ending, how it ends with that radio play, and it has Scorsese, and it's very much a nod of who gets to tell these stories. It's the white director in his 80s who is telling the story of these Native Americans. I don't completely agree with you said about, first of all, you said this is a 3-hour movie that moves. It's a 3.5-hour movie that kind of moves at a snail's pace, in my opinion.
Sure.
And I think, but that's a double-edged sword, because I like that Scorsese is taking his time in his later career. He is a little more methodical. Things aren't just moving at a quick pace. It is very, here, look at this thing, and, this is one that I think maybe would have worked better as a miniseries, but I still do really appreciate it. It's a powerful movie about a subject that really needs to be touched on. Obviously this was reworked from the original pitch, which is a lot closer to the original nonfiction book by David Gann, which is told from the point of view of the Leo was originally going to play the FBI agent who doesn't come until the very end of the movie, who ends up being played by Jesse Plemons. This is just, it's kind of instead of being that, whodunit, It's much more of this dive into evil and this intense relationship that these characters have, and this dichotomy that lives in Leo's head where he is doing all these horrible things to these people that his uncle claims to love, who he clearly doesn't. But I think you can make the argument either way. Does he love his wife? But he's still doing absolutely abominable things to her, and unforgivable things. And thank God she does not forgive him at the end. So yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon deserves to be mentioned among the great films of 2023.
Yes, absolutely. So we're on to your number 2. I'm going to go ahead. Guess your number 2 is Past Lives.
Not quite. My number 2 is Blackberry. So yeah.
Yeah, what can I do for you?
Okay, picture a cell phone and an email machine all in one thing. There is a free wireless internet signal all across North America, and nobody has figured out how to use it. It's like the Force. Sorry, have you seen Star Wars?
No.
That guy is sketchy. I don't think he's sketchy. The guy's a shark.
I know how to market it, and I know who we can sell it to. But I want 50% of the company, and I've got to be CEO.
I don't know who you think you are, but deal. Are you joking?
We are in a race to get this thing to market, and we are a year behind. I need a prototype.
I'll do it perfectly, or I don't do it.
Mike, are you familiar with the saying, perfect is the enemy of good?
Well, good enough is the enemy of humanity.
What do you call it?
It's called a BlackBerry.
Huh. Try typing with your thumbs.
You had guessed Air earlier on, and while that was a movie I enjoyed, it's one of these product
Air.
Yeah, that's what I said. You guessed Air earlier on.
I thought you said you guessed this later on. Earlier
yeah, but that's no worries. I might have said that. I don't know. The tape will tell.
Yeah.
But Air, Blackberry, Flamin' Hot. There was a lot of these movies that were quote unquote product biopics that came out this year. But this one really stood above any of those, because this really felt like those movies were kind of like, yay, capitalism, and there might be a little like, oh, we should share with the creators in Air. This was like the way that these systems kind of destroy everything and everyone, and it's this really interesting delve into this guy who is an innovator and a creator, but is he going to sell his soul because to get the product bigger and better, and the clash that he has with this guy who's more of the just kind of pitch shyster guy. So the kind of back and forth that Jay Baruchow's character and Glenn Howerton's character have in this is really incredible. Glenn Howerton in this, by the way, unhinged, incredible. He is from Waterloo, where the fucking vampires hang out. Like, oh my god, he is so good, and I really love this. It feels like, honestly, a modernization of The Social Network. Unlike Air, unlike all these other movies, this is ultimately about a product that had a meteoric rise and a colossal fail. And seeing the arc of that in that movie, it's cool to be like, whoa, this is a really interesting story of how did this BlackBerry go through this crazy process. But the character dramas in it, these people in it, their lives, and the way that they essentially changed the world but then failed to adapt, and the way they sold parts of their souls off just piece by piece is...
Yeah, that's very cool. I would never have anticipated you put it that high. I think I remember... Yeah, I remember you being very high on it when we talked about it when it first came out. But yeah, well, okay. Number 2 movie for you is Blackberry. So we're at number 1, or before we get to number 1s, let's go over some of our honorable mentions. Let's see here. So yeah, like I said, right outside my top 10, like number 12 was The Boy and the Heron. I already said my piece. What was 11? How to Blow Up a Pipeline. Number 11 was How to Blow Up a Pipeline. I mentioned it as my number one movie you should see before the end of the year, and you did. I believe you liked it quite a bit, right?
I did.
Yes.
You gave me a bunch of movies to watch for the end of the year, and this is the only one I watched that made I will spoil it, say this cracked my honorable mentions at least.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll just like you said, or yeah, like not like you said, but I will mention about 10 of them. I have a full list on Letterboxd of my all 64 movies I saw from this year. You can go there after this and check that out. So I'll just do up to 20. My number 13 movie of the year is Barbie. Had to get there. The Barbie the other half of the Barbieheimer experience.
Wait, so what was 12?
The Boy and the Heron. It says How Do You Live on here. That's why I keep getting confused. So How to Blow Up a Pipeline was 11. Boy and the Heron was number 12. And 13 is Barbie. Great performance by Miss Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. And a great cast of characters. One of the best movies with, like we said before, large musical performances in there. Very funny, very insightful about social issues. That's my number 13. Number 14 is the one you guessed for my number 10, I believe, Riding in the Sun. The Sebastian Silva.
Yeah, I had it at 6, but yeah.
6, yeah. Sebastian Silva's cinema verite. Look at, him as a filmmaker, and you have this, a lot of dicks. He goes to a nude beach, and there's a lot of dicks and a lot of gay sex happening around him, and it very much becomes a different movie about halfway through. So
yeah, that movie a lot. Sebastian Silva decided to make this movie instead of just going to therapy.
Exactly. Number 15 is a movie that I'm guessing will be on a lot of lists and a lot of honorable mentions this year. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Like we've said before, great first half of a movie. Can't wait to see the second half of that movie next year, hopefully. Not 2024, but probably 2025. Yeah, who knows exactly. Number 16, another fun movie from this year. Another fun Marvel movie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I think it's safe to say that won't be on your list this year. Maybe could be.
No, it's a good movie, but I actually didn't have any Marvel movies on my list this year.
Yes, me neither. One of the best Marvel movies this year, or one of the best Marvel projects, I'll say. I think Loki passed that a little bit. Yeah, great movie. Number 17 is May December. One of those we talked about before, where it's just it's very Oscar baity. It's a great performance, great movie. Takes itself very seriously. So that's why it's my number. It's at my honorable mention at 17. 18 is a movie I haven't talked about because I just saw it this week, called A Fire. From one of my favorite working directors, Christian Petzold. It's the synopsis is: a seaside vacation takes an unexpected turn when Leon and Felix show up at Felix's family's holiday home to discover Nadia, a mysterious woman already there. As an ever-encroaching forest fire threatens their well-being, relationships are tested as romances are kindled. So it's one of those movies that's I've seen a few of them this year. That's very much about art and commerce and what are we doing? What are we doing?
What are we doing?
In the face
what are
of,
we doing?
What are we doing in the face of ever encroaching climate change, ever increasing climate change, ever accelerating climate change? We're sitting around talking about writing and art and making things, forging relationships in a world that is very quickly falling apart. So very much did enjoy that. 19 was Nimona. You can go back and listen to all my thoughts on that. I had a lot of things to say about that. Very, very fun. Queer coded movie, a lot of front facing and centered queer characters in that, so I very much enjoyed that for that and for the comedic bits. One of my favorite animated movies from this year. And I'll finish out at number 20 with Theater Camp. I mentioned this as one of my favorite movies of the year that you should see before the end of the year, and it made my list, the top 20. So yeah, check that out. Derick, before you get to your honorable mentions, I'll just mention some that I watched between last time and now. 1001, I saw that just recently. It's a story about a a woman and her son in the, I want to say mid to late 90s in New York City. She loses him to the foster system and sort of, I guess you could say kidnapped, takes him from the foster care system and tries to raise him herself. That was a very good one. Beyond Utopia is one of the few documentaries I saw this year. It is about a pastor from South Korea who uses his what do you call that? Uses his resources to try to get North Koreans out of there. So it's a very harrowing documentary from this year. Will most likely be up for best documentary and probably win it as well. And the last one I'll mention is Passages, which I mentioned before, which is the Ira Sachs film, starring Franz Rogowski, one of my favorite international actors, Ben Whishaw, and Egdel Exarchopoulos, who was most known for Blue is the Warmest Color. So a fantastic queer or bisexual queer movie that I loved very much. So that is it for my honorable mentions of 2024. Like I said, I'll have a full list at Santa Claus Kinski on Letterboxd. Yes. Okay, yeah. Derick, what is your honorable mentions for 2023?
I'm going to speed run through mine. I'm not going to take that long.
All right. I
like how you're like, I'm not going to say that much about it, and you just like gave a whole diatribe on every single one.
Soliloquy, yes.
Iron Claw, like you mentioned, Killers of the Flower, and these are not in any particular. It's just a grouping of honorable mentions. I was like, I spent enough time honoring my 1 through 10. I'm not going to like number my 11 to 20. So yeah, Iron Claw, Killers of the Flower Moon, Passages, the one you just mentioned. Extraction 2, which almost was it was in there for a while, but I was like, no, John Wick's a better movie. Then, like you mentioned, How to Blow Up a Pipeline, another product biopic movie that was sitting in my top 10 for the first half of the year at least, Tetris. Then, the one I mentioned, most underrated, Fingernails, Poor Things, which came close to cracking it, and then Wes Anderson's Asteroid City, and another really underrated sci-fi movie that I liked a lot more than pretty much anyone, and that is The Creator.
Nice. Yeah, that's one I gotta catch up with as well.
It's good. It made me cry at the end. Against all odds. Like, I'm like, it was kind of like, you know what, this is really manipulative, but it worked on me.
Yes. Should I play Andy's number one before we get to ours, or should we do ours then Andy's?
Yeah, go ahead and play Andy's now.
And we'll get Andy's number one movie of 2023.
Hey guys, this is Andy from the podcast formerly known as Can I Say Something, and future infrequent guest on the next big thing from Mr. Damian Sherman, the Midnight Film Society. My top film from 2023 comes in hot with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 96% and a perfect 10 from yours truly. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem isn't the bougie film you are probably used to hearing about on Best of the Year pods such as this, but I am not a bougie motherfucker. This film sees the turtles struggle with their lifelong isolation from society by the xenophobic Master Splinter and start to venture out of the sewer with the goal of making friends and being accepted for who they are by fighting off Baxter Stockman and his army of mutants. Typically, reboots of shows from the 80s and 90s feels like a cash grab to me, a cruel bastardization of a beloved IP for the sake of the almighty dollar. Mutant Mayhem bucked that trend. Seth Rogen and company took plenty of liberties in modernizing the story, but that made it feel fresh in almost every aspect, instead of a verbatim retelling of something we've seen done poorly a half dozen times over the past few decades. That isn't to say nostalgia wasn't a huge part of the appeal for a grown-ass man like me, but it was more so in the form of Easter eggs as opposed to the entire premise. The film's animation style was also incredibly unique. You may have heard me ramble on about that on a past episode. Jumpy, scribbly, comic book style animation is the best that I can do. It is a shockingly dark visual style, almost nightmarish at times, in stark contrast to the lighthearted dialogue of the turtles and the goofy dialogue of the mutants. The music was great, the jokes were funny, the cast was stellar, and I am looking forward to the sequel.
That was Andy's number one movie, 2023, TMT Mutant Mayhem. Thank you for that, Andy. And with that,
and I will say this is I will say real fast. That's a great pick. This is a really fun movie. I love the turtles, and this is one that it felt like they were actual like teenage brothers. This felt like just some guys going on an adventure. They were very relatable. I think this is easily the best Turtles movie since the original 1990 one that was a indie film phenomenon. I really like this and agree with everything Andy said there.
Yes. Let me see. Who was actually in that? Who did the voices? I know there was a few. Okay. I thought there were some people I recognize. I guess not. Mika Abbey, Shimon Brown, Nicholas Cantu, Brady Noon. And then the supporting cast obviously was Io Edebiri, Maya Rudolph, John Cena, Seth Rogen, Rose Byrne, Giancarlo Esposito played Baxter, Jackie Chan played Splinter, Ice Cube was Superfly, Paul Rudd was Mondo. Huh, didn't know that one.
Yeah.
Very good cast. Yeah, that's very cool.
And
Yes,
introducing
good pick.
Paul Rudd is how they put him in the credits, which I thought was pretty fun.
That's funny. All right. So with that, we will get to our top film of 2023. Derick, I guess you could say, I guess you kind of can sort of guess what it might be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty confident. Like, I was confident going into this with my number one pick for you, and the fact that you did not mention it in any of your picks or honorable mentions, I'm very confident in saying that your number one pick is probably Past Lives.
There's a word in Korean, inyeon. It means providence or fate.
Do you believe in that?
That's just something Koreans say to seduce someone.
What a good story this is. Childhood sweethearts who reconnect 20 years later and realize they were meant for each other. In the story, I would be the evil white American husband standing in the way of destiny.
Shut up. He was just this kid in my head for such a long time. I think I just missed him.
Did he miss you?
혜성! 와, 너다. 와.
진짜 와다.
와.
Not really sure how to feel about it, son. And the way you move makes me feel like I can't
좋다.
live without you.
뭐가?
그냥 너랑 얘기하는 거?
The guy flew 13 hours to be here. I'm not gonna tell you that you can't see him or something.
만약에 네가 한국을 떠나지 않았다면 내가 널 찾았을까? 우리가 사귀었을까? 헤어졌을까? 부부가 됐을까? 아이들을 가졌을까?
너는 나를 왜 찾았어?
한 번 더 보고 싶었어.
If two strangers walk by each other in the street and their clothes accidentally brush, that means there have been 8,000 layers of inyeon between them.
Want you to stay.
Yes, indeed. My number one pick of 2023 is Past Lives. Celine Song's directorial debut. This is, this year's Everything Everywhere at Once, and the fact that I saw it pretty early on. I think this flick came out in June, I want to say, June or July. So not as early as Everything Everywhere at Once, but yeah, once I saw it, it went straight to number one and pretty much stayed there all year. A few notes I took. I watched it again last night, like I said, and cried again, just as much as I did the first time. I think one of the first lines of dialogue in the movie, I think, really lays out the film's thesis and its sort of themes, its main theme that it is exploring and wrestling with, which is Nora's mother at the very beginning says, quote, "If you leave something behind, you gain something too." And I think that's sums up a lot of the movie's messaging. I think that the longing and the sort of long lost love is something that Wong Kar-wai does very good, and I think this movie does it as well as he's ever done it. I mentioned before the music and the score by Christopher Bear and Daniel Ronson. I said it reminds me of the Lost in Translation score, that sort of ethereal, what's that word for like the sort of a lo-fi beats they have now on YouTube, that sort of stuff was very good. It has like the sort of like texture it has, this very dreamlike, this slow pace to it that I see in a lot of Suzuki Hamaguchi movies. It works here very well as well. And the first time in filmmaking that I really, really admired was the confidence of the camera work. I've talked here through the past 3 hours, the confident filmmaking, confidence in the confidence and trust in your actors to be able to act out a scene without any cuts, and that's what she does here a lot. There's one scene where when Nora and Hae Sung first meet up again for the first time in 20 years, they're walking along the New York there's a pier, and the camera is just sitting back, maybe at least 150 to 200 feet away. And as they're walking and talking, the camera is following them and sort of loses them at one point. Really, really incredible. So many scenes and shots that could be a painting. The DP was Shabir Kircher, who also shot a lot of Steve McQueen's Small X series in 2021. So if you like the cinematography here, I highly recommend watching that stuff. The shot of Nora in the car when she's moving to New York was incredible. The shot of Nora and Hae Sung when they were kids and they were saying goodbye for the last time in Korea, and one is walking up the stairs and Hae Sung takes the lower street was an incredible shot. Nora sitting with Arthur the first time during the writer's retreat, where they have them sort of silhouetted against the house and against the hanging lights, there was a really incredible shot. A lot of amazing shots in this film. The thing I was talking about before with the acting throughout this year, a lot of close-ups on Cillian Murphy's face, a lot of close-ups of Leo DiCaprio and of Lily Gladstone in that movie, in Killers of Flower Moon. A lot of micro impressions here. A lot of Greta Lee's, the things I love about her performance in this movie are the micro expressions on her face, but also John Mazzaro and T.O.U.'s face say a lot more than any piece of dialogue could. The shots that I think refer back to a lot of small romantic movies like the Before series, when they first meet again at the pier, when they're sitting next to the merry-go-round, which is used as the poster for the movie. The looks and lookaways say a lot as well. And I think the entire movie is very, very, very much about things like understanding and empathy and deeply empathetic human connections. It's a very adult movie. It's a movie that's about mature love and mature understanding, having you can accepting and communicating without words. They're very secure in their love for each other, and that's a lot of what I liked about this movie. Movies that make me cry aren't necessarily the ones that aren't necessarily the sad ones. It's not just the Marley and Me's of the world. It's also the ones where people are just being decent and good to each other. And The Last Conversation is not this overwrought declaration of love. It's this it's a recognition that that this life isn't their life, this time isn't their time, but maybe the next time will be, and that sums up when Hae Sung says "see you then" at the very end. So just crush me, just absolutely crush me. I love everything about this movie, so that's why it's my number one of 2023.
Yeah, and so to get to my number one of 2023, and you had said you guessed it was D&D, right? So obviously we know that's not correct. It's Past Lives. Come on, we have the same number one. This was always going to be my number one. There was a moment, like I said, when I was thinking about putting Blackberry here, and I switched it on my list, and this just feels wrong because Past Lives is such a movie up my alley. It is. I love these movies that are like brief encounters or missed encounters, where it is about these two people who deeply love each other and probably should be together, but because of circumstances, because of time, because of whatever it might be, don't end up together. And that's the theme of this movie, is just like the way that our lives can go in one direction, but they go for whatever reason in a completely different direction, something completely outside of our hands. And because they were probably they grew up together, they had this like old love, and then they because of their parents, end up going in completely different directions, living in a different world. She becomes a different person. She literally changes her name, is like Nora, but then with him, she kind of feels that pull of the person she used to be. But it's not just the two of them, right? You have her husband, and it becomes this really interesting, beautiful trifecta where he has this moment where he's like, I understand how this is. Like, I'm, the evil white American that you're married to. He's the Korean love of your life. You're going to run. But she's like, that's not how it works. So it subverts those tropes of those movies that I love so much in such a really powerful and interesting way. And they talk about how they have had past lives together because, they are deeply connected through her. And that last shot is one of the greatest last shots in a movie. And it have that great first shot where it's like looking at the three of them and it's like, what is their connection? And by the end of it, you deeply understand what their connection is. And he's so empathetic. They're all so empathetic for each other. No one ever crosses a line, but they all understand what's going on. And they all understand what can be and what they would all like it to be and what it can't be. And she's caught in the middle of this where, she's not going to leave her husband. She loves her husband deeply, and he loves her, but he knows she's not going to leave her husband, and her husband knows that too. And he's like very, I wouldn't say jealous, but he is, nervous about it. He is, apprehensive. And then when she has her scene, she says goodbye to Hae-san, and then she just cries into Arthur. It makes you cry too. Like, it's so good. It's a brilliant movie. It had to be, as soon as I saw it, this had to be number one 2023 movie. Nothing was ever gonna push this off the pedestal. This is one of my favorite movies in years.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, it's just incredible. Definitely will be revisiting it a lot. It's one of those like Everything Everywhere where you do want to revisit it, but it is so goddamn soul crushing to watch it. But yeah, so that is it. That is our top 10 of the year, top 10 films of the year. Congratulations! Woo!
We did
exactly.
it.
We did it. We did it, guys. So just a few things left to do. I do want to just hit up do some sort of comparison point here because I have my most anticipated pulled up from the beginning of the year. My number one most anticipated movie has not come out yet. It was Doom Part 2. Yes, it comes out in March. Can't wait for that. My number two most anticipated was Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. My number three, and keep in mind these were made in January, so a lot of the stuff, the dates moved, the stuff debuted, trailers came out for stuff. Past Life wasn't even on my radar. My number three was Oppenheimer, followed by Barbie. Killers of the Flower Moon had a TBD at that point. That was number 5. Number 6 was The Killer. Number 7 was Disappointment Boulevard, which was the Beau is Afraid name at that point. The Ari Aster movie from earlier this year. Number 8 was Creed 3. I was like, not great. Number 9 was Scream 6. Number 10 was Asteroid City. But then a lot of ones that actually ended up being pretty high on my list are in the top 10 to 20. Asteroid City, Wonka, which I still need to see. It was called Air Jordan at that point in January, which became Air. Cocaine Bear was 13. Showing Up, which I very much enjoyed, was 14. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, was 15. How Do You Live, which was The Boy and the Heron, was 16. Maestro, which was obviously ended up on... what did I end up putting in? Number 6 was my number 17. Renfield was 18. Ferrari, which I haven't seen yet, was 19.
You don't need to.
Don't need to? Okay, great.
Skip it.
That was my number 19, and 20 was Magic Mike's Last Dance. And actually, what's funny is Leave the World Behind, which I heard is not great, which I won't be seeing, was number 21. Napoleon 22 and Zone of Interest, I still need to see, is 23. Some other ones down the list are there as well. I don't know if you have your anticipated list anywhere.
I don't. And you maybe split it into 2 separate lists, so I don't know where you're getting this one list from. But yeah, I remember that ones that made my list were D&D, Oppenheimer, Boy and the Heron I think was my number 1. And then Indiana Jones and Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and then Killers of the Flower Moon, I remember all of those being on my, and I think John Wick was. So those are all ones that made my list or my honorable mention that were on my initial anticipated list. So I think I had a pretty good mix of stuff that I was expecting to like that worked very well for me, and stuff that caught me off guard, like Blackberry and Past Lives.
Yeah, exactly. And then just to touch on, to reference and to honor the old system, the old Can I Say Something days. But the best I read like 75 books last year, so I just want to say the best book I read this year. I actually thought of you while reading it because it reminded me a lot of Ghost Story, the David Lowery movie. Ghost Story. It's called Northwoods.
Oh yeah. I know that one, yeah. I haven't read it.
You know that one? Okay.
Yeah. I just had to grab it for a customer the other day.
Yes. Let me see. By Daniel Mason, came out this year. And it very much just follows a house built in the woods. Starts off with a father and a mother. They have some kids, and the father has this apple orchard in the backyard. And the kids grow up. The father dies. The kids inherit the house. Very much follows them for a while. They die. It follows animals and how they sort of interact with the house, and then sort of goes from there up until modern day. So it is very much about sort of the legacy and the things we make and the lives we live and the things we leave behind, and just how the world, the earth, environments, nature is just going to sort of be there forever, and we're not going to be forgotten, but it's very much about how the things we do is just sort of there for a couple generations, and we kind of have to just appreciate it while it's there, because it's very much not going to be there for a long time after we're gone. So very, very good book. Out of the 75 I've read this year, one of my favorites. So definitely check that out. Do you have anything to mention about books you read this year?
It's technically a 2022 book, but it came out in paperback in 2023, and that's The Rise and Reign of Mammals. That one, it's a follow-up to The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs, which I liked a lot. And this one, it similarly gave me vibes of there's been life on this planet for so many millions of years, and human civilization's been around for, a couple thousand, a few thousand, 10,000 at most. And that's a blip on the radar of geology and just like time on this planet. And it's just a really fascinating read about just the way that like life, the mammals are us, and just the really weird, interesting world of mammals throughout history, how they developed. There's interesting anecdotes about like platypuses and stuff like that in there. So I really liked that book quite a bit.
Yeah, I forgot who said it, but basically an easy way to look at it is if you look at the lifespan of the Earth and you put it into the model of like a calendar, the Earth's been around, or humanity's been around since December 31st at like 11:55 or something like that.
It's from Cosmos, the new edition of Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson, not the Carl Sagan version, or it might have been in the Sagan version too, but yeah.
Gotcha. What was the best game you played this year? Was it a Zelda? Was it Tears of the Kingdom?
Of course, yeah, Tears of the Kingdom. One of the greatest video games ever made. They're like, hey, Breath of the Wild, which is phenomenal and just like broke everyone's brains because it was so fucking good. What if we took that and made it better? Like, Tears of the Kingdom it feels like it's taken because Breath of the Wild was like, what if we took everything great about a Zelda game and just like made a masterpiece? And this feels like, what if we took everything great about like video games and made a masterpiece? Because you have like all the stuff from Breath of the Wild, and expands that even more, and it puts in like shit from like everything from like Minecraft to like God knows what, and it puts it in, and then it's beautiful, it's dark and haunting at times, and the story is so cool. I just beat it because I took me a while to beat it because I like to take my time with games, especially games that are open world like that. And I just explored everything. I wanted to get every corner of the map like looked at, and then you finally go up against Ganondorf, and the final fight against Ganondorf is so good. Like on a mechanical level, it's very fun. It's a very cool, interesting multi-stage fight that starts in the underground, then goes up to like the regular world, then goes up into the sky. In the end, you're like fighting a dragon falling through the air, and spoiler, skip ahead 30 seconds if you haven't beaten the game yet. The last thing you do in the game, after you beat Ganondorf is you're falling through the air. You have to catch Zelda. So the last thing isn't about destroying something. The last thing is about you're trying to save Zelda. That's unlike any other Zelda game I've ever played, where it's like, yeah, you're trying to save Zelda, but you do it, you kill Ganondorf. That's it. This ends with like you like grabbing this love that you have and like holding her, and you guys splash into that same lake that you fell into at the beginning of the game. Perfect symmetry. Amazing game. Amazing work of art as video game.
Nice, very cool. And my favorite game of the year was, of course, Tarkov. Escape from Mr. Tarkov. Yep.
Okay.
Like you were saying with Tears of the Kingdom. What did she say in Last Jedi? What was her name?
Rey Skywalker.
Rey Skywalker, exactly. No, what was her name? Oh, Rose. Rose in Last Jedi. She's like, we should stop trying to destroy what we hate. We have to save what we love, right? Yeah. So there's that. And then announcement time. 2024 is an even year. Every other year since 2020, I have watched one movie a day, baby. It's back. One movie a day. The first year, 2020, I watched 366. In 2022, I watched the most movies I've ever watched in a year, 400 movies. Going to try to break that record in 2024. One movie, at least one movie a day. It's already started. I've already watched 6 movies. We were recording this on this January 6th. So that's 6 movies a day so far. That's one movie a day so far. So yeah, join me on my journey on Letterboxd. Santa Claus Kinski for now.
Yeah, nice, because I actually did that last year. I did 379 movies in 2023. So I'm taking the year off, but I did it last year.
There you go. Then next time we convene here, we will be doing what most people have done already, but what's going on. Yes.
Well, should we tally the scores for the
scores,
guesses?
right?
So maybe we pause for a moment and we tally up our scores, and then we see who won. I think I have a guess on who won, but let's check the final scores.
Banana, box scores for the Midnight Film Society guessing game. Derick, you came in with a hot, was it 15, 16? I lost track at some point.
Wait, what did you get first? Say what you got first.
I got 10 points.
You got total of 10 points. I came in
10 points
with a total of 24 points.
What? 24? Where you get 24 from?
Because I got 1, 2, 3 right on, so that's 15 points there.
Okay.
And then I got another 2 from the killer, because that was one off. And then
so
I got 4 dead on because I got Anatomy of a Fall dead on. Wait, right?
Number 8.
Yeah, Anatomy of a Fall was dead on, and then I was 1 off for Oppenheimer.
Okay.
Or 2 off for
That's
Oppenheimer, 3. So that's... and then, so I got 3 points from The Killer. I got 1 point from Oppenheimer. I got 5 from Past Lives, 5 from Killers of the Flower Moon, 5 from Anatomy of a Fall, and 5 from Poor Things.
Okay, all right. Jesus Christ. Fine. You know me better. Jesus. All right. Congratulations for the inaugural winner, Derick.
Thank you.
Winner of the guessing game of best films of 2023.
And
all right. Good luck next year.
Thank you. Good luck to you next year as well. And I think that since I won, much like you did with the summer movie wager, how you won, I get to pick a movie for you to watch, and I'm going to be gracious and pick the same exact thing that you picked for me, which is The Snowman. So let's both watch The Snowman and talk about it next week.
Okay. The Snowman. Yes, all right, I'll write that down.
Mm-hmm.
The Snowman assignment. All right, sounds good to me. Assignment. All right. And with that, let's talk about next time. It'll be most anticipated films of 2024. I already have one already pulled together, already pulled a list of what they talked about on the big pick this week. Sean Fennessy, as we all know, is a mad lad. He had like 25 things on the slate already, so I put all those together, compiled the list on my Letterboxd. You can go to, again, Santa Claus Kinski to see that list I made from the big pick and most anticipated movies of 2024. So we'll be doing our own list of most anticipated films next week, just like we did last year. So again, just like last year, there'll probably be something. There'll always be a Past Lives. There'll always be a Holdovers. Let me see what else came out that I didn't think about at all. Godzilla. Poor Things was on the radar. Killers of the Flower Moon obviously was. So there'll be things like Riding the Sun, Iron Claw. I don't think was on my radar at all. Theater Camp, not really. So there's always things. There's always things that pop up during the year. Definitely look forward to.
Yeah,
the coming
it's
year.
Gonna be a good one. It's gonna. I mean, I don't know. Well, I say it's gonna be a good one, but I'm a little bit nervous because there's gonna be some things that got delayed from this year, but I don't know, with the writer's strike and everything that happened this year. I think that there's gonna be some things that a lot. It's gonna be a rough year. Maybe it's gonna be like we had a couple good years. Maybe the fallout from that though is gonna be is 2024. Who knows? We'll see. Fingers crossed. That's good.
Yeah, we will see. And of course, you always have to remember, it was the American writers and American actors strike. You have, you have international movies, not just England, but Japan, Australia, Canada, Mexico. We have all sorts of great origin. What am I trying to say?
International?
Great filmmakers. Great international filmmakers from around the world also made movies last year that weren't affected by either strike. So always have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I think with that, thank you, Derick, for a wonderful year of talking movies.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Yes. So with that, and for 2023, and for the Midnight Film Society podcast, I've been Damian Sherman.
And I have been Derick McDuff.
And we'll see you next time and next year. See ya.
Bye.